Welcome, everyone. Welcome to August. Right? So tonight we have a lot to go over, and probably the biggest item why most of you are here is for the continuing discussion on our comprehensive plan. The plan that has been drafted and presented to the board after the comprehensive plan committee has completed their work, so we will get into that in earnest very shortly. But to start off, I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item on the agenda, comprehensive plan, public hearing and public comment section. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing and public comment section.
Second.
Should be sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we have some administrative stuff to kind of get through first, and then we're going to open it up to the public comment section. When we get to that section, if you want to speak, please do. Come up to the microphone, name, address, 3 minutes. Okay? All right. Lydia, I'm going to turn it over to you to start off.
So, I'm thrilled that we have reached this stage of the comp plan process. After a really remarkable 2.5 years of work, on July 2nd, the Comprehensive Plan Committee voted their draft plan to us with a recommendation for us to adopt. And I could not be more grateful for the work that they did, in addition to the dozens of other people who sat on subcommittees, in addition to the hundreds of people who provided public comment. This has really been a remarkable process for the village, and for me personally to sort of hold space for. So thank you. And here we are at the next stage. So we, as a village board, by state law, are required to hold a public hearing on the draft within 90 days of receiving it from the committee. So here's day one of our public hearing. We have decided as a board to hold this public hearing open for at least a month. We're going to have another public comment session on September 3rd at 2 p.m., Tuesday, September 3rd at 2 p.m., and then another one at 6 p.m. on Thursday, September 12th. We're going to be taking email comments starting, kind of today, really whenever, through 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 12th. And that is our process. Our goal is to be having real-time conversations amongst the 5 of us on information that we hear from the public, on information that we raise individually, so that Michelle and I can work to get the draft into a place where we can adopt it by September 30th. By adopting it by September 30th, that puts us in a position to be able to receive a $150,000 grant from the state in order to write a new zoning code that reflects the values that have been captured by this comprehensive plan. I want to take a moment, though, before we do that, to acknowledge the extraordinary work of Michelle Gregg, yes, our planner. She, as she describes it, jumped onto a moving train with the enthusiasm of the dozens of people who were already activated with the plan. She figured out a way to wrangle a whole bunch of cats and guide a conversation in a timely and effective manner. And as a result, we have a really quite extraordinary plan. The first step that we had to do was send it to the county to see if they had any comments. This is also part of the legal process. And I would like to read into the record the response that we got from the county. It's available on the cloud, but I think it's worth saying out loud. Comments. We commend the village and its comprehensive plan committee on the draft comprehensive plan and the process that got the plan to this point. Over the last few years, the committee engaged in what may be the most extensive municipal comprehensive planning process the county has ever seen. particularly from a public engagement perspective. We were grateful to be among the many departments, institutions, and community groups invited to participate in that process. The end result is a document that recognizes and reinforces what makes the village such a special place, while offering implementable, impactful solutions to the challenges the community faces. We look forward to assisting the village with implementation of the plan if requested. Recommendation: the department recommends that the board rely upon its own study of the facts in the case with due consideration of the above comments. This is basically Dutchess County Planning saying, please pass this. And bravo. So I've never seen a letter like that from the county when it comes to anything that we've done here in this village. So once again, thank you to the Comprehensive Planning Committee, thank you to the dozens of people who assisted them, and thank you to Michelle. So, we've cleared the Dutchess County planning hurdle. Second thing I would like to do, just on an administrative level, is I'd like to make a motion to authorize Michelle Gregg to start drafting parts 2 and 3 and the neg deck of the seeker review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. That, we also have to have that complete by the time we pass the comp plan itself. The other thing that I mentioned earlier is on July 28th, 29th, sometime there, we filed the grant with the state, in the grant application with the state in order to update our zoning code. Part of the requirements of that grant is that we complete the plan by September 30th, and we will hopefully hear by December-ish, maybe January, whether or not we get that grant. Fingers crossed. Okay, the plan itself. The Comprehensive Plan Committee in its public hearing process did approximately a 45-minute presentation of the plan. We're not doing that. It has been in the air for months now. I'm happy to answer any questions. Michelle is happy to answer any questions, but really the purpose of this is a normal village board public hearing where we expect the public to have done its homework and to have read the plan, and if you have any questions or comments, to raise them with us. I have put on the cloud and provided up here a very tiny, well, very long, but in very small font, list of all of the comments that were made during the Comp Plan Committee's public hearing. It's 4.5 pages of, I think, size 6, with where in the plan the comment was addressed, if it wasn't in the plan, how the committee chose to address it, or whether, you know, how it kind of handled it. So we beg of the public to make new comments, or if you disagree with how the Comp Plan Committee handled a comment from the previous public hearing, feel free to raise that. But you know, new comments are welcome. Duplicative comments are sometimes not that helpful. But here's really a nice kind of cheat sheet on the things that triggered, that really got people's attention. We have, as a board, we have a bunch of thoughts on the plan itself that we want to raise and talk about. And if the board has any questions of either me or Michelle, you can feel free to ask, unless we want to start the public comment part now.
I would recommend that we go into the comment period and hear what all of our people here have to say.
Yeah.
And as we go through that, it may be relative to something that somebody may have here.
Totally.
Or may not, and then we can address the board's concerns and discussions.
Okay. What would be most helpful to have up here? Anything?
Maybe the sections.
The 7
themes.
The 7 sections?
Yeah, I think so.
This
There
one?
you go.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay,
front section.
you done? Good.
I'm done.
Okay, we will now go into the comment section. As I said, please raise your hand. I will identify you and come forth. Name, address, And please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if they've already been said, please, no need to repeat. Okay? So, we're open for business. Don?
Donna Warner, Main Street. I really just have a couple of procedural or clarification questions for Lydia. And by the way, certainly as a participant in the process, want to thank Lydia for her leadership. It's been tremendous, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
When you said in the cloud, I'm not clear, where am I going to find that document? I think a lot of people may not know. Is it in the folders where is it?
It's in Martina's sort of VOR public folder, but if you'd like tomorrow morning, Martina and I can put a link from the comp plan committee's page to sort of the stuff that we're doing, if that would be helpful.
I think it would be helpful to know easily how to find that summary of comments.
Yeah, I can actually also add the summary of comments to the comp plan committee's webpage itself. Yeah.
Great. The other comment is, I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to get duplicative comments from people, in the sense that you could possibly have 20 people who versus one person over here who has a comment about running a sidewalk past Kramer Road. I'm here to and you might have 20 or 25 people who actually, so get a relative weight.
Okay, I guess it was more the questions that could possibly be answered in this document, but yeah, feel free. I don't want to cut off dialogue, so yeah.
Whatever. Thank you.
Thank you.
My voice is loud enough, I can talk.
No, for the
Okay.
tape and everything,
Okay.
please, go on. We want to see your smiling face on the camera.
Right. Name's Ed Schroeder, I live at 69 Violet Place in the Village. Been there for 54 years. Question I have was the one on no parking during the winter time. Before, sometimes people don't realize, and I worked for DOT for 35 years, that all of a sudden you get an ice storm or you get a snowstorm, and if those cars are out there, there can be a lot of problems. And then again, with the guy trying to plow or trying to keep the road clear, with the cars out there, you got the people calling and saying, you plowed me in. That is one I would like to see changed, if that, if that's going to be part of the, what do you call it, because I know that was brought up quite a few times about having parking. And the biggest problem is going to be 308 and Route 9, because that falls under New York State DOT.
Yeah. Okay.
But everything else I've read in there and seen, I'm very happy to see that we're finally getting something done, because it's been a long time since anything's been changed in this village over the period of time that I've been here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, he's referring to the recommendation that the plan made, policy 1.4.9, which recommends that we modify the snow ordinance to apply only to snowfalls or ice storms that require plowing or salting, rather than a blanket ban on all overnight on-street parking during the winter months.
John?
John Clark, Beach Street. I was on the comprehensive plan committee, so of course I want you to adopt it without any major changes. We worked very hard on this. However, during the final edits, I was on a long-term vacation out in the West Coast and had to review the final draft on my phone in a hotel room in Utah or someplace. So, one sentence in here bothers me when I went back and read it in preparation for this meeting. So I'm gonna violate my own, maybe you should make one little change. So it's on policy 2.2.4 on page 24 involving the use of renewable energy, which is, of course, I agree with. Encourage the use of renewable energy such as solar panels, geothermal, high-efficiency heat pumps, electric vehicle chargers, streamline the review process. All that is great. The last sentence, however, goes a little farther, and it says, require use of renewable energy such as geothermal and rooftop solar in newly constructed multifamily buildings. Now, what bothers me about it, it singles out multifamily buildings for a different treatment than the general policy. And multifamily housing is a big concern in the village, and we don't want to imply that all newly constructed multifamily dwellings have to have geothermal heating, because that can severely affect price. So I would just suggest you change it to encourage, so it matches the first sentence, or I don't mind if it said require the use of renewable energy for all larger scale buildings over a certain size. So it doesn't specifically target multifamily buildings, but applies to all larger scale buildings, commercial buildings and otherwise. Because I don't think it's fair to single out multifamily for a higher standard than other uses. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Actually, I have a follow-up on that, which is,
Sure.
what we're talking about here are maybe better to be phrased as climate-forward technologies involving electrification or non-fossil fuel infrastructure, because like geothermal is like an electricity powered way of heating and cooling your home. It's not actually generating renewable energy.
Right.
So it's just sort of like a semantic thing.
Okay. So climate forward technologies involving electrification or non-fossil fuel
Yeah.
sources, right? Okay.
And that way you leave it open if there's, some new technology that emerges.
Okay. Hi, Karen.
Karen, come on. I knew if I wait long enough, we can get somebody else.
Hi, I am Karen Kane. My husband, Michael Forlenza, and I live on Livingston Street.
What is your
And
actual number on
I
Livingston?
can't tell you, it's 19. And the question that I had came out of a comprehensive plan meeting that I attended, and it has to do with infrastructure. And I'm not talking about physical infrastructure, but service-related infrastructure. So at the meeting that I attended, both the chief of police and the fire chief made statements to the effect of both of their staffs were woefully understaffed, and that recruiting was an extremely difficult issue. And while every, village has to change and expand to some point, my understanding is also that the Rhinebeck Police Department is funded primarily by the town of Rhinebeck. Is that,
That is not
That
true.
is inaccurate.
Totally
do they have
inaccurate.
they have a contract?
We have
with
a
the town?
contract with the, just to give clarification to that, we contract with the town of Rhinebeck to do patrols in the town 2 to 3 shifts a week.
Okay.
And that's paid by contract, but that's the only coverage that they pay for.
One of the comments that the police chief had made was that they spent a lot of time ferrying people, I guess mentally ill patients from hospitals to,
That's a different issue, that's true.
that's a different issue.
The
Okay.
mental health facilities available to the northern counties are limited. We've made that aware, we've had several meetings with the county, and that is a true statement. We do have to,
And so my question is, as we look at additional housing, but we don't have the ability to increase the number of police, and we have a part-time police force as it stands now, or the EMTs. You know, my fear is that who gets the call in the sense of, you know, someone has a heart attack in the village. I mean, someone else has a domestic dispute, someone else has this. I mean, you're taking the resources of the police and the fire department, and you're just diluting them. So, you know, no one gets any good service. And while, you know, we hope that it's the case, that our cars don't get broken into, that things don't get stolen or whatever, they do. And while we hope that we don't fall on the sidewalk or have a heart attack, we do. And we need to rely on, you know, both of those forces. And I didn't see anything in the comprehensive plan that addressed that. And so that is my question.
So just to clarify, you're concerned that because our forces, like our village forces, are being diluted into the town and the work that they do on contract for the town, and then sometimes our police have to take, you know, an hour to 2 hours out of their shift to ferry someone down to Mid-Hudson Hospital or whatever, that because we're stretched here, what happens when we're stretched?
It's more to do with what happens when we add additional housing to the village of Rhinebeck.
If we're already stretched.
Yes.
Right, okay, so if we're already stretched,
Right.
how do we handle the increase?
Exactly.
In potential increase in
And
calls?
recruitment, you know,
Right.
who wants to be a police officer these days? No one, you know, and we're competing with, you know, many other villages and municipalities who are having the same exact problems recruiting people. And the fire department is volunteer. So you're asking a lot of people, I think, when you say, let's add this housing and let's add this housing, without the infrastructure underneath it. And that's my comment.
Great, thanks, Karen.
Thanks.
Just one question. Aren't we backed up too by the state police and the sheriff's department?
Yes.
At all times, because they make it, what our men can't, they make it, because we've done it for years.
Yes, and that's a true statement. So what happens if there's a call and we're not available? We have things like mutual aid. 911 will dispatch to the next mutual aid company, fire and or ambulance. Police automatically gets pulled to county and or state police if we're unavailable. So there's a whole network of services that are provided, but I think Karen's point is well taken.
I think it's well taken, yeah.
You know, it is a responsibility enough to make sure that we have adequate services,
Yeah.
you know, for both police and fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rachel?
Hello, thank you all. So maybe mine is also procedural and just piggybacking a little on Karen, perhaps. If the devil is in the details, at what point are the details really hammered out on this, and when does that happen? So I know you don't want duplication, and I won't duplicate. Let's have Marty Rosenberg's letter be a preamble to something that I would like to say. Okay. So Marty Rosenberg lives at the Livingston and Mulberry. I don't see him here. Not in the Livingston permit parking zone. Well out of it by several blocks. I'll just quickly read what he wrote, which was published in your comments, I think. I have read the comprehensive plan. It's very ambitious, it's impressive, it's full of fresh ideas, numerous opportunities. I agree. It does just what a comprehensive plan should do. It's obviously doing more than it will ultimately do. You're not going to implement every idea in it. It would be a miracle if 20% was enacted, he says. I do have a number of personal concerns, I'm quoting, and feel that the proposed increase in density, the tendency to look at every piece of land as a potential development site, is daunting. He used the word frightening. I'll just use the word daunting. And a village green will do little to allay my concerns. And then he says, I believe our immediate neighborhood will take multiple hits, by which he means Livingston Street, Mulberry Street, Parsonage Street, Center Street. In other words, some of the most historically relevant properties, so to speak, relevant. It will shift parking to streets such as Livingston Center and Mulberry. The west end of Livingston is already designated permit parking to avoid this. I realize that communities such as ours are being required to create housing, and I will say I support that, that's me, but at what cost, and will the required density destroy the very thing that some of us sought when we moved here in the first place? So my question to you is, we've voiced concerns for years around this topic, and at what point does the road meet the rubber, the rubber meet the road, the devil get me? When do we discuss this? Is it now? I trust not, because this is not the forum for that. But I don't want to not voice my concern because I don't want to miss the opportunity to discuss it in detail, because it's a grave concern to many, many families. That's all I have to say. But otherwise, thank you. And if you want to answer my question now, I'm happy to hear it, but if you want to not, that's also fine.
To answer the question on the devil in the details,
Yeah.
a lot of what is in here would be reflected in a new zoning code. So the biggest sort of concern that you've identified through Marty is the idea that, I would imagine the multifamily housing is allowed in the village residential district. It always has been. It has been banned since 2001. This plan is talking about resurrecting multifamily housing in the residential district. The ability to currently minimum lot size in 2001, it was increased to 8,000 square feet per parcel, even though many, many lot sizes in the village are much smaller than that. This plan contemplates reducing the lot sizes. I mean, obviously, all of that kind of results in more housing per square foot, let's just say. So the details are ironed out in the zoning code. Where, how, when, what, to what extent, and all the rest of it. And one of the reasons why we have budgeted such an extraordinary amount of money for the zoning code, this was another comment that someone made, gee, it's like $100,000, seems like a lot of money, which is true, $100,000 is a lot of money, and why we have applied for a grant is because it's really important to look at our complete zoning code. We haven't done a complete zoning code overhaul since 2001. And so we've been adding things piecemeal since then, and I cannot even tell you how frustrating it is to be someone in my seat dealing with two different parts of our code that are in complete conflict with each other. So that's like basic problem. But part of the job of a really good zoning code overhaul that requires expertise from lawyers and planners and people who do this full time, not me and a bunch of really dedicated and smart volunteers, is to make sure that all of that knits together in a way that doesn't cause the concerns that Marty has raised, that you have raised, that a lot of people have raised, of if we're increasing density in the village, how does that impact quality of life in the village? The problem that we're trying to balance that with is a known problem since the 1993 comp plan, which is an affordable housing crisis, right? So basic econ, supply and demand, and there's only so much that the village government can do with affordable housing requirements and income restrictions and this, that, and the other to offset the force of supply and demand. So we're in the middle of a balancing act, and the trick with the zoning code update is to make sure we do that balancing act appropriately. Personally, I live across the street from Marty, so I am personally also aware of this and concerned about it.
I know you are, or you do.
And the wonderful thing about Marty is he's brilliant at his work. He's a historic preservation specialist, and he used to sit on basically the Pennsylvania equivalent of the New York State Historic Preservation Office board thing. So he's very well steeped in what makes, a historic neighborhood, what makes a historic building. And I share the concern. And at the same time, I'm fully aware that the village needs to do something.
So just to answer my question.
Yeah.
The details will get ironed out in the zoning code,
Exactly.
not.
That's the short answer, yes.
That's
Yes,
not-
that's the short answer. Sorry.
Some people like to talk, but that's the short
I
answer.
understand I opened the door for you to.
Yeah, I just keep
for your
talking.
philosophy of it,
I
which
would just like to
appreciate.
add one
Yeah.
comment, which is that all those historic streets that you're talking about, they're all on individual septic systems, and that's a real limitation to the amount of development that can occur. Under ideal circumstances, Brandon Nelson, the village engineer, will tell you that for a 3-bedroom house, you need 8,000 square feet for a 3-bedroom house. So,
Right.
that's a limitation right there as well, to what can occur in those areas.
Okay, so we should be looking out for the zoning code, which there will be public hearings for.
Oh my God.
As well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, we're just checking.
It's funny, like the comprehensive plan committee, they like all celebrated like they were at the end of the marathon, and I was like, I am at mile 8, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks for the clarification.
Yep, no problem. Next time, just cut me off.
No, we like you when you talk.
Donna?
May I have a second chance?
Sure.
Okay. I haven't read the plan since the last set of hearings, but I had 3 concerns. One has to do with easing restrictions on ADUs or making them more feasible.
We made sure to address that, yeah.
You know where I'm going?
I do, yep. But you can say it out loud because nobody else knows where you're going.
Right now, if I had an ADU in my yard and
An ADU is?
accessory dwelling unit, which has a certain size restriction, but if I converted my garage to an ADU, if I had the appropriate lot size and a septic, which I do, I could turn it into an Airbnb under the current regulations. And as long as I lived in my house and it was my primary residence, I am concerned that if we added ADUs, and the intent is to add additional housing for permanent residents, that happen and not all be turned into Airbnb, short-term rental. That's one concern. I'm here on behalf of some folks who live on Kramer Road. This has been a long-standing wish list. I know that I wish that everyone in the village and the town had walkability, and we have lots of sidewalk needs, but some folks on Kramer Road would really love that little piece of land between the hospital and the store fronts there, the laundromat, had a sidewalk. So on their behalf, the third thing is I endorse the gentleman's comment about about parking bans. In my neighborhood, if one car is left on the street, the entire block is messed up because the plows have to take a big cut around it. I just don't understand, or would like to see in the details, in the weeds, how you would alert everyone in the village at any particular time that a storm is coming, when it starts, when you get, when you're supposed to get off the road, when you're not. People are still gonna have a problem. They still have to find another place for their cars during these episodes, but I think it will, the proof would be in the pudding here that it turns into quite a mess. So I'm not in favor of removing the parking ban during the season. The last thing is, I think it's really, Michelle did a lot of work on the demographics. When we talk about density or, we're imagining certain things, I think it would be really helpful to have the data, where we see what sort of, people are asking the question, how big can the village get? Is there a maximum size? What is even feasible? And we have actually lost population over the last several decades. And so I'm not sure, I think it would be helpful if there was some kind of presentation that showed the context for this plan and some of the demographics in the last couple of decades, and then the projections for the future. Adam did a great job at the Messiah meetings on affordable housing in terms of just alerting people to what the future is going to look like if we do nothing in 10 years. And we will not have a workforce either. That's one of them. So I do think some more information in some kind of presentation would be helpful.
Thank you. In the plan itself?
No, I think for the public, I mean, for people who, just so that this sits in this comment Brandy just made that said the septics would limit what you can do anyway.
Right.
Yeah, you know, so if people are imagining another 1,000 people in the village, it ain't gonna happen unless it's tourism.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so you know, the comp plan did address your ADU concern. They added language
I think it's to limit
to
short, ADUs as short-term rentals.
yeah, to limit ADUs as short-term rentals. Just so you know, there was a conversation at the comprehensive plan committee level where some people, in order to afford to stay in their home here, use short-term rentals for their ADU to augment their income in order to pay for property taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mostly school taxes.
Right, mostly school taxes. Just gonna plug that on our behalf. So there's a balance there. Right now, the village, for ADUs are non-domiciled.
Correct.
So right now, the village only allows 4 permits a year for ADUs to be rented out as short-term units.
Oh, no, not true.
Oh, I thought in the law, the ADUs are non-domiciled.
ADUs can, if you're hosted, they're
Yeah.
hosted and on property. So
On
if
the
you're,
property, it's written,
if you-
it's written as a.
if it's hosted, as Donna mentioned, right, which today, just for reference, we have 17 hosted short-term vacation rentals in the village. We have 0 unhosted vacation rentals in the village today.
And you can,
Even though
and we
we,
consider
even though
ADUs to be
we
hosted.
permit, if you're hosted, as Donna mentioned, and it's your full-time resident, and you are there, you can have it as part of the current code.
Okay, well, that was a misunderstanding on my part, I apologize. So yes, given the language in the plan, and like I said, the entire zoning code needs to be looked at comprehensively, that would be examined. Because the point of building ADUs isn't to build a secondary hotel market. The point of building ADUs is to help people stay in the village in an affordable way. And it's a really, ADUs tend to be sort of converted garages, or the second floor of a garage, or the lower level of a split level ranch, or, you know, or the upper level of a split level, whatever. And so it's a way to architecturally keep the village as it is, and yet add the ability for more people to be able to live there. So there's a lot of really creative solutions in the plan on how to sort of keep everything looking somewhat the same, and yet add more affordable options for the people who want to stay here or come back here after college, or, you know, retire here or whatever.
Okay,
Okay, I'll stop speaking.
enough. Thanks. You gave us permission.
I did give you permission to come.
When they come up, I'm allowed to talk again. Roughly, how many people have we declined over the years?
Yeah.
Population.
The population.
Oh,
And I can tell you, most of it is because a lot of families that were here in Rhinebeck, their kids have left. I should know because I had 9.
Yeah,
And majority of them, none of them live here in Rhinebeck.
it's declined 9% since 2000, and it is mostly that. It's
And it's
kids
mostly
moving
that-
out
right.
and parents staying in the big single-family house.
Right. And that's
Look
not the
back
gist of
another
it. That's
decade.
where your population goes down because of the kids.
Right, and there's nowhere for them to come back to.
There's nothing here to come back to.
Right.
it's unaffordable for them.
And it's not, you know, like you say, it's very
So that's
unaffordable.
the issue to balance out here.
Because the funny part is, I don't know how many people have been here over 50 years. But I've been here over 54 years. And when I bought my house, it was only 28,000. And a lot of people back then, a lot of people too, people don't realize in this village, during the Depression and during the 40s, most of them rented. And most of them didn't even know there was a depression on because they worked for the big estates. And that's the way they grew up, and the families stayed and got large families during the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Then all of a sudden, the population has completely dropped because a lot of the big families are all gone now. And it's just a husband and wife that's sitting here, and that's why, how come, I mean, the population has gone down. And mostly, like the hospital says, Rhinebeck, there is no real, well, there's a number of young people that are just starting out. But majority of us are all in that 50-year-old to the seniors in our 70s and 80s. That's what's here in Rhinebeck. Because you don't see, and as far as the school goes, one thing the comprehensive plan I wish would have brought up was how many children in the village, how many children are there left in the village?
Yeah.
Because most of the children are coming from Milan, Clinton, and the town.
It is actually something that the plan does address and that the committee discussed as well, which is
Right.
that there are so many seniors living alone now, empty nesters in their large homes.
Right.
And they want to stay in the community, but they can't always find a smaller dwelling unit to move to.
No,
Whether
so they
it's an
do-
apartment or accessory dwelling or something. So I think part of the idea is that we can create more smaller units for people to downsize to. It would allow people.
And still with the seniors, the big thing is you got the hospital and you have the doctors. That's the main thing, plus you have Vassar as the big medical center. And across, the other one across the river in Ulster.
Right.
So that's a big thing where the seniors do stay in this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to keep the public comment session open,
The public hearing open.
public hearing and public comment, because we'll be doing public comment as well.
Yeah, and continue it to some point later.
Have a second?
You have to say.
Yeah, and continue it
Date,
to-
place, and so on, so you don't have to renotice it.
I'm sorry.
So you need to state date, time, place, so you don't need to renotice it.
So September 3rd and September 13th,
Just the next one, September 3rd is fine,
Yeah.
at 2 PM.
2 p.m.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all, thank you all.
Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is, we have a bunch of questions, the village board. So the plan has done a really remarkable, the committee did a really remarkable job of gathering concerns from the public. The village board, although we are a member of the public and we live here, we also see things that come across our desk that might not be obvious to the public. And so the question here is, did the plan appropriately capture everything that we think about and have been presented with and have had to deal with? And so I assigned everybody homework to think about that. And for the most part, the answer seems to be yes, which is great. But I want to make sure that everybody on this side of the table has an opportunity to sort of say what they're concerned about out loud.
Well, I mean, I'll start off. I mean, as I mentioned before, if you look at our initiatives and what we look at as a village board and how we are working together, we divided ourselves up into areas of responsibility, whether it be land use, which I think the plan has addressed very adequately and completely, and then there's the other issue of complete streets. And we address the issue, we address sidewalks, we talk about streets, we talk about trees, but we don't give a definition of what a complete street is and how it relates to the village and how it can focus on providing better safe routes to school, better bicycle paths, all the kind of stuff which are addressed individually, but we didn't give it a definition. So that's one of my major components that I think we need to identify and how that all fits and gels together within the plan.
Okay.
So I think there's kind of a sifting process here in that, you're right, all of the elements of complete streets are scattered. It's not that anything was missed, but they're scattered throughout the document. And then really when it comes to talking about how we envision the village or the zoning, we're gonna have to repackage them back together so that we have a clear vision in one place for what we want our streets to look like and how we want them to be used. So it's a question of,
Actually, we actually have a complete streets policy where we.
Well, we do, and actually, we do say, the plan does say on page 29, encourage safe, pleasant, and convenient conditions for all types of travel, including walking, bicycling, driving, and riding transit, for people of all ages, incomes, and abilities. This complete streets concept, which encompasses the movement of people, not just cars, will promote the health, safety, environment, and economic vitality of the village. So there is a definition given there. It's not, I mean, maybe we could pull that out and put it in a box if it would make it more emphatic.
To me, that's where it was buried in the context.
and then,
Yeah, the problem is that complete streets doesn't really have a, this is what a road looks like that is defined as a complete street,
It has
right?
many-
Because it depends on the context, it depends on where it is, it depends on how wide the road is, it depends on how much traffic is on it, it depends on all sorts of things.
But isn't there a recommendation that we adopt a complete streets policy
Yes.
where that will be hashed out?
Yes.
That's where we're, but I think we could embellish it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just pull this out and really put it in a box so people, oh, that's what they're talking about. I think that would make, highlight it a bit more.
Mhm.
I had one, and I'm not sure this is exactly, it's a little bit tangential, but it's also signage and wayfinding
Yep,
within the village.
yep.
One, as parking is always a perennial issue, and having a better integrated sign structure, both for people walking around the village and for people who are looking to park around the village, is a good idea. I've seen other communities where their approach has been, instead of telling people where not to park, they tell them where to park. So instead of having lots of signs with circles and P's crossed out, you have a P with a green circle around it, which means park here, or you can continue to park down the street. So just wayfinding things for folks in the village, maybe just to highlight some of the resources that we have.
Okay. Yeah, right now we have in the plan, like a sign at village parking lot, if village parking lot is full, like where can people find more parking? But having something not just village,
This be
not just the
village-wide.
municipal lot, but sort of, as you're driving in on 9 or 308, here are the best spots to find parking, and
A coherent,
Yeah.
maybe we can
coherent
divert
line.
some traffic before it gets to downtown.
A coherent, so- and also to make it all coherent.
And a compare look, too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, a coherent, I got it.
I had a couple of issues. One of them was that the parking issue, which the plan says that there's really a walking problem, not a parking problem. I think, first of all, we have to think carefully about how we say that, and I've mentioned that before, because we are a senior group of people here in Rhinebeck, and sometimes it's not that we don't want to walk, it's that, walking is, a problem.
Right.
Also that since we worked on the plan, for example, the M&T lot was clearly posted and removed from use. So parking has been shrinking, not increasing. So I think we need to think about that aspect. And I understand, theoretically we all should be walking, we shouldn't be biking and so on. I get all that, but parking really is, it's a problem. I mean, if I have to run in just quickly for something, and I'm on my way, somewhere, so I don't want to walk home and then drive to Poughkeepsie or wherever I'm going. Sometimes it's like I almost have to go back home and then walk and then, far, I might as well just stay home. So that was one. The other one was brought up, that was my concern about vehicles. Where do they go in a snowstorm? It's, one thing to talk about not parking on the street, or, do we have to, do we require off-street parking? But then there are times when we have to have off-street parking, or we would definitely have to have a plan where these people could go. So we need to think that through. And the other one was that we had a big discussion about where to put the limit on, we talked about affordable housing and what this village could do to incentivize more affordable housing. And it was the end of the meeting, and the limit had been placed at, the proposal was 1.25 acres. And some people thought that was too aggressive, and it may have been, but at the end of the meeting, there was this wrapping up by the chair saying that we've agreed to say that anything above the 3-acre limit, then we would implement some conditions for increasing affordable housing. I did not agree to that, and I don't think everybody did. I think that was an error, and I actually brought that up. Also, what happened was because I then was voted onto the board, I felt I shouldn't be double dipping, so I got off the board. And now I regret it, because then I missed the rest of that argument. I'm wondering if we should consider maybe a compromise. And we did get some maps here. I just wanted to bring that up. So.
I do want to say, because you had made that comment previously, Eleanor, and I did check my notes from that meeting, and it did say that they had voted, decided on the 3 acres. That's what my notes
Because
reflect.
I wasn't there on the subsequent meeting to challenge those minutes.
No, but these are my notes.
Oh, you're
that I
not?
took in the
Yes, that's what the conclusion said, but when he said, so we agree, I said, no, I did not agree to that. We didn't really vote on that, and I thought I made that pretty clear. That was just my, that was his summary. I understand that's how he summarized it, but I'm just saying.
So, just so you know, in the last meeting of the Comprehensive Planning Committee, they rediscussed this because you raised it in the public comment, and there was a vote taken by the committee, and the committee did most of its work by consensus, and so there were very few things that were done actually by vote with majority wins. And in this particular case, 3.0 versus 1.25, there was a vote taken and 3.0 won. But, so the plan does reflect what the committee wanted it to reflect at the end of the day. We have the option of changing that language to large parcels, to coming up with a different acreage. I would be a little wary about changing the acreage because the committee did vote on a specific acreage, and I don't want to take sort of the power of that decision away from a consensus sort of process. But we could change it to large parcels, and then the devil's worked out in the details as we do the zoning code. Just so you all know what we're talking about, there was a conversation around, oh boy, it was with large developments, so basically anything larger than 3 acres or anything larger than 1.25 or anything larger than something in the middle. What kind of requirements does the village ask a developer to do in that property? Like, do we say, oh, you have 3 acres, great, knock yourself out and build a 10,000 square foot home? Or do we say, no, you have 3 acres and it has to, if you redevelop it, it has to include, multiple housing units and this, that, and the other. So the question was, what was a large parcel?
One of the concerns that came out, and I thought it was 1.5 or 3 acres, I didn't think it was 1.25. But we
Well,
did look at that.
originally it was one, I thought, but maybe I'm wrong, yeah.
But one of the concerns that came out was that some of the parcels that are, say, 2 acres, they're larger than 1.5, this one's 3, are pretty constrained with, wetlands and slopes and so on. And so then we were discussing, well, should it actually be the net acreage? If you go to a lower parcel, you have to start thinking about things like, they might have a 2 acre parcel, but there might only be a tenth of an acre that can actually be developed, in which case you can't really require a lot, So I think some of those things really have to be, I think that's why one of the reasons they went with a larger acre, so they didn't have to address that concern at this time. But it might be advisable for the plan to say, for example, 3 acres, a 3 acre minimum site, something like that. So there's a little bit of wiggle room so that when we're really looking at the zoning, we can nail down that more specifically. But there are some larger parcels that really do not have much development potential because of the constraints on the natural constraints. But
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that, overall, we have to look at the whole plan and say, is this plan going to do what we want it to do? Are we going to end up with more affordable housing, or in the end, are we going to talk ourselves out of doing anything? You know what I'm saying?
yes,
So-
but I don't think that was the intent here. I think, when you look at the 2 maps, you can see that there's a handful of parcels really that are affected if you go from 1.5 to 3 acres. Some of them are already, developed or don't have much more development potential, and some of them, as I say, are really constrained. There are a few, some of them, for example, along here, which street is this? Is this
That is,
Chestnut, maybe?
that's Platt.
Platt, okay.
Nope, that's Chestnut.
See, a lot of those 3 parcels there, which are larger than 1.5 acres, they have no frontage, no additional frontage for an additional lot. So that's a constraint there. Some of the ones down in the southeast corner of the village are very wet down in this area. They're also located within the DEC adjacent area, the required 100-foot adjacent area to the DEC. So those parcels are really limited by development. I think it could be studied further. I think if you do study it further, you'll find that 1.5 is tight, is challenging, that then it would have to be a net acreage after all these other features have been subtracted. But if the board has not decided about it, I would recommend that at this point you consider it being a, for example, perhaps 3 acres, and then it could be studied further in the future. But
That's why I gave you the maps.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so you can sort of see that in the grand scheme of things, we don't have a lot of parcels that big.
I mean, there is this one parcel here adjacent to the east of the large parcel across from the hospital.
Oh, the one that looks like a C. the
Yeah,
1.5
that's
acre one.
1.7 acres. That one might be ideal for a more planned,
Okay.
yeah. But the other ones, some of them, for example, there's one up here that's actually part of the woods. That's not really available for additional development. Yeah, so.
So on this particular question, would we all like to study this map and wrap our brains around this and come back and make a decision on this later, or do we want to make a decision on this now?
I actually thought the plan was pretty clear
With the
in
3
terms
acres?
of the acreage, because as Michelle mentioned, you really got to factor in what is developable on that land. And you start reducing it, then you're starting to remove possibilities.
Just so you all know what you're looking at, the bright pink parcels are anything over, this is the 1.5 acre map, anything over 1.5 acres, but that's public, religious, or otherwise restricted land. The light pink parcels are anything over 1.5 acres that's privately owned. And then you can see with the blue and all of the rest of it, wetlands issues and all the rest of it. So that's what you're looking at. This is the 1.5 acre map.
Yeah, and I think, as I say, I think that, there's this parcel at the gateway coming into the village, and I think it's a retail, this one down here at the
That's
bottom.
where the
Dutchess County
historical.
Historical Society and the field next to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, from the south.
Which is owned by, is that the field that's owned by Bender?
Elijah? I think-
Elijah, and I think
Yeah.
his father,
The
the
one,
corporation owns it.
we're talking about the light pink triangle one at the very bottom of the map
There's a square above it.
with the square above it. So that is, both that triangle and the square above it are between 1.5 and 3 acres.
They're actually larger than, they may be larger than 3 acres.
No, they're not.
They're not? Oh, okay.
No, shut up there.
Okay.
Yep.
Going way back, they did have a plan one time to develop that section. but it fell through, and that was in the early 50s.
I mean, there's also a whole conversation in the comp plan about our gateway areas, and so that part of Route 9, all the way up to the northern part of Route 9, the eastern part of 308, the western part of 308, the other way around, and how we want to transition from a rural town, like Flag, that you're no longer in a rural town, you're in a more urbanized village, settled area, and so that involves changing the roads to slow people down. That involves, all sorts of things.
Visual cues.
It involves all sorts of visual cues to remind folks that they're not in the middle of a farm anymore. They're in the middle of a more densely populated area. So part of the trick of that is you don't want to have it be super abrupt. And so that's also a conversation that's had in a different part of the comprehensive plan about how to make those gateway areas welcoming. Hello, you're here, please slow down. And yet we are still a rural village, right? And so you don't want to immediately put a bunch of 3-story buildings on those particular parcels because that's a super abrupt transition. But that's part of the fun of the gateway section.
So yeah, I don't know what you would like, maybe you want to take some time and sort of look at these two maps and think about it before you make a final decision, but
I personally would like to keep the 3 acres simply because that's where the comprehensive plan committee landed, and if we want to put language in there to soften it a bit, for example, happy to do that. And maybe even add a further sentence of, the goal of this particular recommendation is to, make sure we're not missing out on parcels that could be developed in a more thoughtful way. But, just looking at this map, there's maybe only 5 parcels that could be developed in a more thoughtful way.
But that makes 5 parcels.
That's 5 parcels.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, no.
Considering the scale.
Yeah, totally.
I'd say there's probably one critical one, which is the one east of the.
Yeah, which is the one up there.
Yeah.
I agree, as I mentioned, I'd like to keep it at 3.
I would be curious if we married, that's a little more, that if you did your minimum, if we did the minimum lot size and the 3 acres, how many potential parcels you're actually talking about? And that would be very rough.
You mean like buildable plus?
Yeah, no, how much, and then maybe if somebody, obviously there could be density bonuses, but I'd be curious if you actually overlaid, like start saying, you can actually only fit 5 houses on here or something like that.
Oh,
You get more than.
you mean how
Little
much
more.
we could do?
Yeah, a little more granular, but I think that's for later, not for now. And also, you're talking about giving density bonuses for things in here?
Only if they connect to they would have to connect to municipal sewer. That particular property probably could, because there's
The force main.
extended from the hospital, yeah. These are a lot of the issues that the committee discussed when they were looking at these various maps. They looked at one for 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, I think, or 4. I think there were 4 different maps that they looked at.
Yeah.
Why did the consensus land on 3?
Well, part of the problem, well, there were some people who were not at all in support of going lower for their own reasons. And then there was concern about some parcels that at the smaller lot size that are really constrained by environmental constraints. And how do you address that? It would have to then be a net acreage, right?
Which is
Which you can do.
Yeah, is that something that we could include as the,
Sort of like
giving
as
us
like
option
net
for
buildable
every-
acreage?
Yeah, it's more complicated, but you can do that in the zone. I think the question is, it's a cost-benefit analysis. I think if you look at the properties and see, will there be a benefit? What would be the benefit to the community by doing that, as opposed to, because it is more challenging to survey all of the areas that have to be deducted from gross acreage to determine that and so on.
So I mean, just so you guys can see it, the one that's 1.7 acres that's currently not captured with the 3 acres is this little C-shaped one that's right next to this 13-acre property. This is, for the public, this is Mulberry Street right here. This is the part of the fairgrounds where all of the roller coasters are. And this is Route 9 right here. So here's just some examples of how that area could be developed while maintaining the gateway. Here you are coming into a rural village, isn't this lovely? There's a big lawn and a historic home, and yet we have a whole sort of cottage development behind it. These are just schematics, these are not directions, these are just ideas. And the ability to capture that 1.7 acre parcel into a development like this would be valuable. So this is sort of where the conversation happened at the comp plan level. Was that with conversations like that. That's page 44.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's try to keep it moving here.
Well, I'd like to make a decision. So part of this trick is that we need to actually be able to make decisions in real time. So if we want to make a decision on September 3rd, that's fine. If we want to make a decision now, that's fine. But we can't make all these decisions once the public hearing process is done, just in order to keep this moving along. So how would you like to handle that? Do you want to punt to September 3rd and we all have a chance to think about it? Because Eleanor, obviously, and I have been thinking about this for way too long. And you all are just sort of being welcomed into the world of everything that everyone's been thinking about for the last 2 years.
I think it's appropriate to wait till September 3rd and give enough time for others to get on board.
Okay.
But we need to make decisions.
Yes.
Yeah. Eleanor, did you have any other
No, I'm
concerns?
good, thank you.
That was good? Okay. Mine, just so you all know, as I'm sure if anybody's been paying attention in the last 2 years, all of the issues that 6 Mulberry raised, adaptive reuse, multifamily housing in the residential district, those are the things that I've been thinking about. The plan really quite remarkably addresses all of that. We have a recent conversation about building additional housing in the village center on a parcel that's larger than what we're used to seeing in the village center. And this is the idea, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I've been trying to explain this to Michelle, and really a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'm just showing it to her now. But, you know, this is all a public conversation, but the Smoky Rock Barbecue place, they have space behind their restaurant that they would like to develop into some small, little A affordable, so more affordable because they are smaller, not necessarily income restricted, units of housing. The comp plan is obviously recommending as much housing in the village center as possible in order to keep that, in order to keep folks in the walkable area. So their idea is currently, but it's under review and they're changing it, and who knows what's gonna happen when it actually hits the planning board. But their current idea is 4 townhomes with garages on the first floor and like a little extra room, like an office on the first floor, and then an apartment on the second floor, and an apartment that ranges from 500 square feet.
580, I think it is.
Yeah, from 580 square feet to 500 square feet, so very small apartments. And very small apartments, and this is perfect, actually. This is sort of what we need and what we're looking for. In addition to sort of the 1,000 to 1,500 square foot housing range that we're missing in this village, we're also missing really small, either starter apartments or ending apartments, however you want to think about them.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
You're talking about the section behind there that
Yeah.
goes down into the big gorge
Yeah.
between the spa and the,
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a little further south from the spa, but yeah.
right, next to the
M&T lot.
Next to the M&T lot, yeah.
empty lot plus the I'm trying to think, oh, they asked her home for
The Astor home is
children?
much further south, but yes,
Oh,
that part of Route 9, yes. I'm talking, you know, there's the post office, there's the
Right.
M&T Bank, and then there's the Smoky Rock Barbecue Restaurant.
Right, and right behind there.
Right behind the Smoky Rock Barbecue
Yeah,
Restaurant, yeah.
because that's where they wanted to put the other spot in the entranceway to the spot one time. Not this one, but the first one that they did.
I believe you.
But the trouble I can't see for that area, they're gonna have to do a lot of landfill because there's a big gorge back there.
There is enough developable land
There is
before
enough
you get to the gorge,
okay.
and the Department of Environmental Conservation doesn't allow a lot of
Yes, I
filling in
know.
of gorges, so, it is possible to fit, that's why the units are so small, right? Because there's
Right.
possible to fit really tiny
Yeah,
lots.
plus part of their parking area
Yeah.
would go too for that.
Right. So the question that we're currently wrestling with is, you know, does our existing code work for that? And our lawyers have figured out that it does. And so does the plan kind of also encourage this kind of development? And as far as I can tell, the plan sort of does.
What do you mean
I don't
by
think
this
it-
sort of
What
building,
is
like
it?
a commercial property?
A commercial
Taking a piece of
property,
the parking lot.
yeah, a commercial property, developing
Residential
housing.
space.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Usually what happens with commercial properties is it's like one building that's all mixed use, right? And so you sort of begin to run into questions of like, when one building is a commercial property and another building is a residential property, how does that work? But those are all legal questions that can be wrestled with the zoning code.
Well,
I don't think this is something that we need to wrestle
No,
with.
no,
the
but usually what they do is they'll split it. It'll be, the restaurant will be the one thing, and then they'll split the other section as a thing, part of the corporation.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
have to give some thought to that. That's the first time I've seen it, so
Yeah.
I'll review it and make it to it. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you.
So, and then daycare centers, but we also address that in the plan. So those are my big questions that I feel like the plan is mostly addressed. So why don't Michelle and I do this? Why don't we sort of take everything that's been discussed, including we've received a bunch of nits and nats. If you find any nits and nats, copy edits, please let us know. We'd rather know about them now before the plan is final. We can take a list of that, we can keep a running list of that, we can ask it, we can send it to you. I can make sure that at the very top of that list, we constantly have a list of things that we need to actually make a decision on, and then we have a list of the things that we've already made a decision on. Would that be helpful?
Very.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm good. Oh, tree wells in the street on
Yeah,
East.
that was my little nitpick. Is
Yeah,
that-
we did.
Yeah, tree wells on the street on East Market. So the plan recommends pushing out and creating some tree wells on East Market Street and allowing for 2 parking spaces in between the tree wells. The word from Jeff Cotter, who runs a snow plowing business, is that if it's, he's out on the committee, is that if it's 2 parking spaces, the county isn't gonna plow it because they go through at 50 miles an hour with their huge trucks, which is a huge problem. But we can handle it as part of cleanup with the smaller trucks.
Talk about
It's
that.
pretty easy to handle. And in general, the plan, the committee balanced the 10 to 15 days a year we get snow with
Right.
the 340 days a year that we would enjoy this new configuration to East Market Street. So, yeah,
Okay.
so that's the answer to that. It is possible.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Just to correct you, the county doesn't take care of that road, the state
The
does.
state does.
Okay.
State DOT, and they're the ones you're gonna have to get the okay to get those.
Oh,
things
yeah.
put in.
Oh, we know. Yeah. There's
That's
a lot of,
Sorry,
there's a lot of work with
Yeah,
the DOT.
yeah,
It's like,
sorry to
you know.
throw the
Site
monkey
lines too,
wrench in.
is also their concern.
Yeah,
Site
yeah.
lines are their concern as well.
So, all right, I'm good.
Very good. All right. Remain open till September 3rd.
It's already in September.
Great. And if you have any emails, send them to Martina. And I will make sure that everything that's possible to be seen online, Donna, is available online tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We are going to continue into public comment now for the regular board meeting. If there's anybody unrelated to the comprehensive plan who would like to make a public comment. Kathleen, call your hand first.
Kathleen Evans, village resident, very quickly. Last month, I had asked a question when the new position of the groundskeeper was being considered, whether or not that person would be able to get certified for the treatment of invasive species like the tree of heaven tree. And you had told me last month that you would be discussing it in executive session. And I'm wondering if,
Not an executive.
well, it was afterwards, it wasn't addressed during public comment, it was addressed. I'm wondering if that was being
So
considered.
Kathy, yes, we have discussed that offline, and the recommendation we have made is to the tree commission is to give us that list of requirements. Our superintendent of public works will then work to address those and incorporate what is possible into that groundskeeper position.
Okay.
So we do not have that list.
Okay, so it's coming from the tree commission, because I think you have to get certified to use the.
Yeah, well, we can, then we will address that as need be.
I think the question is, what the tree commission is being asked to do is, what are the kind of tasks that you'd like to see this person do? It's up to, obviously, the superintendent of public works to assign them. But if one of them is control of ailanthus trees, then that should be on the list. And that would be, that would then say, okay, you need to become a certified pesticide applicator.
Okay, good enough, thank you.
Any other public comment? See none, we're gonna continue to move on. Karen, you're up, treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report
What?
is for the period.
Good job, Nancy.
I was really willing to leave it on.
Okay. What? Do you want to go back to AC? I see people looking warm.
We can't, we won't be able to hear
Over
you,
here, okay.
especially you.
Anyway.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, treasurer's report is for the period ending July 31st. The general fund ended the month with $327,715.68. The water fund ended the month with $134,233.13. And the sewer fund ended the month with $137,492.63. Our New York class investments earned 5.1871%, which is almost $10,000 for this past month for all of them. Vouchers presented for payment, including prepaid in the general fund, total $211,027.01. In the water fund, $52,831.61. In the sewer fund, $50,585.64. In the escrow, $3,436.10. For the sidewalk projects, $1,500.72. For Center Street, $163,423.18. The water treatment plant upgrades, $7,850. For the wastewater treatment plant and sewer upgrade project, $34,013.57. And just regarding Center Street, the $163,000, although it's been paid out of the general fund, I will be applying for reimbursement from CHIPS for that. Do you want to do a motion to?
Make a motion to accept the report as submitted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, fiscal year end 23-24 close and AFR. I'm working with the accountant on a few outstanding items. Then I will complete the annual financial report, due 9/29/24, and prepare the village report. Water and sewer, August 24, monthly bills. In the water were sent out at $26,512.76. In the sewer, $33,416.77, and those are due August 23rd. Adjustments were signed off by the mayor and are presented for authorization.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and lastly, M&T credit card, I request authorization to start our credit card service with M&T Bank and phase out of the Elon credit card. It's not quite as easy to just stop one and start another one just because it's ongoing. We have some subscriptions. M&T had gotten out of the business of doing credit cards, but they are doing them again, and I think it would be good to have a local contact and just kind of bring that a little closer to home. That's it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer from Elon to M&T for our village credit cards.
Second.
Seconded with a question?
Discussion, yeah?
Yeah, it's credit, not debit.
Yeah, credit.
Credit, not debit card.
Correct. It is not a debit card.
Okay.
Are we allowed as a municipality to like, I don't know, earn miles or something?
I don't know. I'll have to ask them.
Cash back?
I haven't seen any cash come back from the other one, so I do
Usually
not.
they credit against your bank.
Okay.
I don't think it would be a good policy because.
I don't.
Who would get it? It just, it
Goes
would
back to
make
the-
it messy.
Oh, yeah, how do you like,
And,
where do you
and
apply it?
then again, I think we'll start with the big picture of changing it and then we'll go into the policy of who gets one and that'll be another board conversation.
Okay.
And this does not affect our processing, this is the cards that we use.
Correct.
So you still get a statement, the statement still
Right,
appears to be.
The
right.
process will be the same. We're just gonna,
Gotcha. But we also process credit cards through other, right, through the water
Yeah.
and the wastewater.
This is-
yeah,
Separate,
this
that's
is
what I'm saying,
totally
that's what I'm saying,
different.
separate, it's separate.
yes, this is village credit cards for village.
If you wanna go on
employees.
you wanna go to a conference,
Right, no, I understand, I'm just making sure, not debit, separate from that.
That's
all in
it.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's it.
Thank you, Karen.
Oh, no, wait, sorry, a couple budget amendments.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the lease 5 of the fire command car, I actually had thought that I did that in the last fiscal year, but the company did not process it. So I'm just asking for those funds that were already put up for last year to, come from fund balance to pay that last payment for the principal and interest. The capital streets, I'm requesting $10,304 be moved to the streets equipment repair line item to, actually just the equipment line item to replace a broken lawn mower. Also, state aid, we received a grant for trees and I'm just asking for $1,000 to be put into the tree planting 8564.1.0.43 line item.
So moved.
Second,
So,
discussion?
yeah, I just want to clarify how fund balance works. So we had that lease in the 23-24 budget. We didn't spend that money in the 23-24 budget, so that $8,846 rolled into our fund balance. And so we're just taking it back out of fund balance and paying for it this year.
Correct, and more
Okay.
so, we
Collected a month's worth of interest on it.
well, but we also received the sale of some fire equipment towards this,
Oh,
so,
right,
in the prior fiscal year. So I'm just cleaning it up
okay.
by using the fund balance, and also increasing that line item by that much, so it's not overdrawn.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Did you apply for that grant for the trees?
Yes, that was a grant that came from the New York State Forestry, Urban Forestry Council. And it's a grant to plant a specimen tree, so a nice fancy tree.
Oh, you've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is actually the second one that the village has been awarded. We have one that planted 2 hollies down in Legion Park, which are thriving and doing nicely. And then this other one replaces a tree outside of the library on village property. There was a tree that was planted but did not thrive. And so we replaced it with a magnolia. It's slightly different, it's a multi-stem magnolia. So as if you're coming up from the village towards the library and you make the left, behind the wall there is now a flowering tree that will start flowering in the spring. And that was applied for by the tree commission, paid for by us up front, and then we received a reimbursement grant.
And unfortunately appropriate for a zone 5 transitioning to a zone 6.
Well, we are on that. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
know we are.
the
I know.
commission is all over that,
Yeah,
even with the hollies.
yeah.
That's a moving north for those.
Yeah.
Okay, purchase request. We have one purchase request, and this is for power washing of our village hall, the complete building. It's really, Brian Knapp, our fire chief, really brought this to our attention. We've cleaned up a lot outside, and now what we're seeing is a building since 1972 that has never been cleaned. So we were cleaned externally, not cleaned internally, but cleaned externally, to be clarified. And so I thought it was appropriate, because if you look closely, there's a lot of residue out there, and so we could clean it off. So we went out, Brian was able to get 3 bids, 2 bids. I attempted to get a third. The bid that I tried to get was from George App Painting, and they were unable to do it after a lot of negotiation because they cannot do a prevailing wage job.
Got it.
Okay, so that kind of knocked them out. The first estimate in front of us is from Critics' Choice Window Cleaning, and it's for $5,200. I also tried to follow up on this one to see if it was prevailing wage or not, and I could not get clarification that it is prevailing wage.
Okay.
Okay, so to me that's a no-go because it's not prevailing wage. The second quote is actually from Bauer Prout, Steve Brower, and this is the guy who does our cleaning. Is this the one from Martina, the guy who does the cleaning for the police department?
No,
Where's the one for the guy who does our cleaning?
I never received that.
What?
I never received that.
Wow. He told me he had one
I never got
and it was from just
it. Supersonic. is
Supersonic.
the name, but I never got it.
You don't have it,
No.
and I don't have it. Well, that's the problem, because the same one with Bauer Power Washing, I could not confirm that they were prevailing wage, but Supersonic is a single source, sole proprietor, and as single source, sole proprietor, we don't need to have prevailing wage. We can adopt that one, but unfortunately, it's not in the cloud, so I think we're gonna have to postpone to get that. I thought it was in the cloud, my apologies.
It seems like both of these aren't eligible because we can't confirm that they're prevailing
Correct, I would
rates.
not.
Okay.
You know what, I'm gonna go to my email real quick.
Can we make a motion to approve it if?
Come back with
We
a.
don't really what it
We
is.
need to have a-
Question about power washing, and as much as I would love to see the building cleaned up, power washing tends to not cause damage, but sometimes dirt's the only thing holding a few things together. Are we prepared for the possible maintenance issues that might result from this?
Not all power washing is created equally.
Oh, okay,
So there's pressure power washing,
right,
which does exactly what you're proposing.
right.
What they're proposing is what's called as a soft wash.
Oh, okay.
So it's low pressure and doesn't remove the,
The dirt that's holding the building together?
or concrete mortar that's.
Yeah.
Right, that's holding the building together,
So
right.
I'm sorry, Brian did send it to me in an email. And so this is from Supersonic Cleaning Services. This is the company that cleans our police department. As I mentioned, single source. The estimate total is $2,550 for the power washing versus $5,200 from each of the other companies. I would like to make a motion to accept the one from Supersonic Cleaning Service for $2,550. And what we had talked about, it would be a split between our general fund and fire, and we would split that cost.
Half and half.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion, but I do think that we need to get that quote into our inboxes.
I will forward it out
Okay,
right
great.
away. He came to me today, and I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
I just request that the villages have come from contingency and be put into the buildings.
Correct. All right, so I'll amend the motion that we accept Supersonic Cleaning for $25,550. $2,550, sorry, what did I say, $25,000? I'm used to bigger, $2,550 for power washing, and that the portion from the village come from contingency to pay for our share.
$1,275.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I will forward this to all of you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next is task order 46 for our drainage system inventory. I'm going to suddenly turn this over to Brandy to kind of review, and if you don't mind, Brandy, could you do that?
Good evening, everyone. How are you? In terms of task order 46, this came up in a number of discussions that we've had over the last couple of years related to evaluating drainage and flooding problems throughout the village. The village does not currently have any kind of comprehensive mapping that shows the extent of the storm drainage network throughout the village. There have been a number of efforts over the years to approximate the information, so we have a rough idea of where things are at. But what the scope of services in this task order would be for us to inventory each drainage structure, so that's the basins, the manholes, the pipes, the outfalls where they discharge into the Lansing's Hill or the Rhinebeck Hill, so that we can get an existing conditions map and assessment. We would be collecting data points using an iPad that is GPS enabled, so it's not survey grade, but it's good enough for planning purposes so that we can start to think holistically about drainage solutions in the village. And the deliverable to the village will be both paper and digital maps. We'll start a GIS-based system that can get integrated, and I'll have to talk to Kyle about it, but get integrated with the data you guys already have for water and sewer on the Diamond GIS system.
So just be specific, this is not, I'm going to address it to you, Joe.
Yeah.
This does not specifically go into detail how we would repair or do work over there on Seymour and Chestnut.
Yeah.
Right? That is a separate quote, which Time Bond is working on. This is to bring together what we talked about at the board when we did the budget, to start understanding the substructure of what we're dealing with, because what we're finding when we are doing a lot of road repair work, which we did just on Center Street, we ran into conditions where our drain system, just catch basins, collapsed on us as a part of just doing the road work. So we need to evaluate that so we can now take that into consideration in doing future road work as we're moving forward to do more road work, and we're not end up surprised when we go out for bid on a road and then all of a sudden have to repair 2 or 3 drains.
And prepare for these big downpours that we have.
Right.
So you're saying then that before you repave Chestnut and Seymour and that whole area, that you want to study here and to see exactly
This
what
will
we
map
have.
them out where they are.
Okay.
Right, there will be another quote, which I've requested Time Bond to work on, to do what is the hard structures, things that we need to do in that area. Because there are some specific areas which we need to address. This is just to map the village.
Okay. Do they need our help at all as citizens and homeowners to walk you through places that we've had problems?
So in general, the scope of services that we're following is to gather what existing information the village has in the record that is schematic in nature, and then field inventory. We do not intend to pick up individual structures on residential properties that are not in easements that the village already owns, but we will make note. So for instance, if you have a property that has a roof leader drain that has been buried and discharges into a swale, and then it's very obvious to us that that swale flows to catch basin A, we're going to make note that there's drainage flowing into it. So our goal is really to start to understand the drainage network in the village as a system, and not just address tiny problems as they arrive, but be in a position to say this is part of a network, and if we're gonna change something midway up the system, we maybe also need to look at other parts of the system.
Well, they're not tiny problems. I mean, you know, our basement has flooded many times.
Yes, sir.
Because we're at the lowest point in the neighborhood. But if you needed video, photos, anything
Yeah,
from the
Joe,
last 20
we
years.
have all of that from you and your neighbors. Like I said, but that's a separate issue in terms of a specific area.
Okay.
This is to map the area,
All right.
so we know we want.
And what did Heinz Sauer do? I
Yeah,
remember he did a-
Heinz, didn't Heinz map that whole area up?
He mapped the water.
Oh, he just mapped the
He did
water,
the
yeah?
water, not
didn't do the
not the
water.
wait, not our storm drain
He
system.
did
Oh.
actually do the storm drain.
He did the
So-
storm
Did
drain.
he? I don't have that map anywhere.
yeah.
Do we?
I got it from you
Oh.
guys, so yeah, definitely. So that is one place we're starting. So Heinz did a tremendous service to the village,
Right.
collecting that information. What we're lacking though is the specific details about how big the structure is, how deep the structure is, how big the pipes are.
Well, I can tell you over where we are on Violet Place, how big it is, because that drain runs all the way back to Chancellor Livingston. That was put back in when they built the building because of the amount of water that was in, that's why there was never a basement ever put in there, because it sat on a wetland.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, what we'll do is we'll map, and you'll see our team out with their vests that are yellow
Right.
that say time bond. We may have cones out.
They
for
were out
everything.
there this morning, weren't they?
they're,
Measuring the thing, yeah, I
yeah.
saw them.
And what we'll do when we get the preliminary mapping done, we'll come in and we'll say, hey, we have data gaps here, here, and here, and then we may, seek input from residents who've got, historical knowledge that
So
should be
you're
helpful.
not including any pictures or anything, you're just, here, this is, something is here, or you're not looking into it to see if it's.
No, we absolutely are.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no, we are trying to gather an inventory, so that's, what's the condition,
Okay.
for instance, on Center Street, to the mayor's point, when we did the drain, or the water work in there, we ended up having to amend the scope to do some drainage work because there were some failed catch basins. We want to be able to look and say, oh yeah, on this leg of the drainage system, these two catch basins are failed, here's their condition. With the iPad, we can collect location information, and we have an inventory form where we gather about 15 different points of data about that structure, which direction it's going, how many pipes come into it, how big each of the pipes are, what the condition is, so that we can feed that information back to Kyle and his team, because there are some things that the village can probably just take on as ordinary maintenance. And then there are other things that we'll want to be planned for as part of a larger drainage improvement project at some point.
So this will just be the runoff water, this has nothing to do with the sewage, because that we already have
That's
some
correct, it's
information
only
on
storm
that.
drainage water, yes ma'am.
So does this sort of speak to the problem that when we were talking about the Center Street, like the scope of how many millions of dollars we wanted to spend on it? One of the options was to spend more money to make the stormwater pipes bigger. And part of the conversation around that was because we know that the stormwater system from over there feeds into the Center Street pipes, but there wasn't like a clear idea of all of the different places that fed into the Center Street pipes. So this is a continuing part of that conversation.
That's correct. This will provide the baseline information about the location and capacity of that system.
Right.
From that, we can build what's called a hydraulic model, which is just a model of how when the rain falls on the ground and then flows to the basins and flows to the pipes, where are we going to experience problems. With that information, and we realized that in this most recent round of CFAs that we're just through, there are now several sources of funds to begin to address stormwater runoff that have not been previously available from New York State. And so by collecting this information and starting to plan for drainage improvement projects, we can position ourselves to seek grant dollars.
Yeah, this is why I'm so excited about this project. If you want to be able to go for grants, you need to show that you've done your homework, you have an understanding
Of how big the problem is.
so that you can make a strategic decision about which projects to prioritize. And so it's
Does the drainage system of the village include those valves at the lake that we open up in a heavy storm and send the water out to Landsman Kill?
To an extent, in terms of thinking about the drainage system as part of a whole natural system. I mean, the Landsman Kill has an enormous watershed, and I don't know it off the top of my head. I don't know if you know it, Vanessa, but it's a very large watershed, and so the village is contributing to a portion of that watershed, at least the portion of the village that drains that way.
I know that, Gary, did you go down there?
I've done it many times,
Yeah.
and also Rick has helped me as well, you know, in advance of storms, to be able to use those, but they are not part of the drainage system.
Okay.
Those valves were put in to drain the lake, so work could be done on the lake.
Okay.
We just adopted them.
Yeah, because
to
it
use
helps the water come through.
To help
Yeah.
create basins for everything to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got a lot of drains that drain into the kill.
Yeah, we know.
And,
Yep, we're aware of that
right.
on multiple places. Yeah.
I mean, you just mumbled
That's what
15
happened
square
with
miles,
the-
right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
like the Landsman Kill,
They came
we are,
over, they didn't,
It goes way, it
we,
goes
yeah,
goes
we are a
frozen.
small percentage of what drains into
Water
it.
came right out of the line.
The other thing about it is that this also brings us into the 21st century. Anything that we're applying for in terms of grants or mapping or knowledge is all GIS based.
Yeah.
And we really need to do this. We're going to be doing this with all of our infrastructure eventually because it's just a fundamental for how municipalities operate and how we communicate with other agencies.
Part of what Boston did during the Big Dig. So you said that we would coordinate this GIS with whatever mapping we've already done with the water and the wastewater system?
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I think it's beyond the scope of this effort to like build out a whole GIS system for the village, but it's just creating the data set that then can be layered in with the rest of the infrastructure data, as Rick was just saying.
Would such a GIS system, a holistic GIS system, include, you know, all the infrastructure that Archtop just laid? Like, would we be able to get that, even though it's a private company, it is on the right of way?
They said they would provide that
They're
to
gonna
us.
provide us with that data.
Okay, and then because the
We-
data is the data is the data, we can just mush it into whatever the software program is?
That's a slightly different topic, but to your question specifically, I think the village moving into the 21st century, where infrastructure is being installed in village rights of way, you should have a policy in place for the format in which you will receive as-built information. And it should include paper copies as you've historically had, but it should also include either a GIS or a AutoCAD file so that you've got both types of data.
I mean, I remember that being on the contract agreement with them, but it's just sort of, like, is all GIS data something that can be read by GIS systems? Okay, great. This is me not
The Esperanto of,
Okay, this is me not understanding how technology works, so forgive me.
I'm learning as well. I am not the GIS technician, but it's basically a database.
Okay.
And so, we're going to collect the database, and then it will be able to be mapped so that it is more user-friendly and accessible.
Okay, great.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve task order 46 for the sum of $16,500 to map our stormwater infrastructure.
Second.
Where would this money come from?
I believe we have 20,000 allocated in drainage in the parks.
Right.
That you put in the budget.
Actually budgeted personally.
Right, okay. Isn't that the money that we're already spending on the mini park drainage question?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Where's that money coming from?
And we also have, when we talked about doing the budget, we built into the budget money from the highway fund to be able to do this as well.
Right.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
Karen and I can sit down and map this
Yeah,
out,
I think
but
so. Before we go to the next one, we should put all of the drainage projects together.
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. We'll do.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so approved.
We have a specific drainage streets line that we created.
Okay.
$20,000.
Okay, good.
Next is, I think everybody in the community is aware, 4+ years ago, the village of Rhinebeck created one of the first of its kind autism awareness supportive communities. This was made in conjunction with the Anderson Center for Autism, who developed a model, and the village of Rhinebeck was the first to be able to implement that model in terms of being able to prove that the model would work and make sure that we could embellish and provide autism support to that group of people. And it's working with all of our businesses, and today greater than 50% of our businesses have signed up to do some sort of effort. And the organization is also continuing to push and train our businesses to be supportive of autism. And we're very thankful for two things. One, the Thomas Thompson Trust. There was a grant received initially by Anderson Center for Autism for $10,000. It was a matching grant. The committee raised through a dinner the matching funds to be able to do that. The second grant, the committee said they need to grow up and be responsible and no longer be under the auspices of Anderson Center, and the village, as a village committee, take over ownership of that and apply for a second grant for a $20,000 matching grant. So, and raise, thank to, and Nancy's here, thank to the chamber and their Taste of Rhinebeck, the Autism Supportive Committee has received very generous donations, and so now today in our escrow account we have $44,250
And 78 cents.
and 78 cents. In the Village of Rhinebeck Autism Support escrow, which that committee is using to do multiple things. Example, on August 25th, we're going to have a movie at Upstate Films. It's a sensory safe movie, open to the public for everybody, and they are renting that space to be able to do that. But in addition, one of the things we depended on all along was having this consulting service available. Without having Anderson next door to us to be able to give us the technical support and give this committee guidance and instructions on how to proceed, this committee would not have been successful. And that relationship is continuing today, but now we've moved into what I said, that second paradigm, where the village committee has said, we want to have responsibility and ownership and not be under Anderson to do that. So with that, Anderson has said, we want a contract to provide that training and support and services. And so this resolution is to be able to use the Anderson Center services, the Anderson Center Consulting and Training, and their service agreement to provide continued support to the Autism Supportive Community Committee. A lot of big words here. All right, and so the process is the same as what we've been doing. This is a pass-through where the committee would meet as needed and recommend to Anderson for consulting services. They send an invoice. The invoice goes through the committee, gets paid. The reason I'm bringing this in front of you, because now that invoice goes in front of you, right? As part of your process for approving when you sign off on all of the invoices on a regular monthly basis. And that money comes out of the escrow account that we currently have, and the committee is monitoring that escrow account on a regular basis because they have to report to Thomas Thompson Trust on a yearly basis on how the money is being spent and where this money is coming from. And as part of their process, they factored into the grant package being able to use Anderson Center as a source of technical services. So all of the whereas just basically say that this committee is not using taxpayer funds. They've raised their own funds through grants and or donations, and we are using the process. They want to use the process of the village, just that it says, Karen, write the check, which is what happens out of the escrow account. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the Village of Rhinebeck Autism Supportive Committee Agreement with Anderson Center Services and Anderson Center Consulting and Training.
Second.
Questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that whereas we all agree that an awful lot has been accomplished, I think that at this point, I don't know that it's the best idea for the money to be running through the village. maybe they should become a separate entity. It's kind of this different quasi, like we don't give money to the tree commission and let them make their own decisions.
Oh, we do. Oh, we do.
We do.
Oh, we do.
They just said
And that's taxpayer money that we
they spend
get.
money and then
They spend, yes.
Yeah.
They absolutely do, Eleanor.
you don't, Rick, you don't have no input.
You
They just happily spend money?
You sign on, so this is a question I have, because I mean, like, the comp plan has a very generous budget, but I have to approve all of the invoices. Like, there's someone at my level of responsibility in the village who has to approve the invoices.
Correct.
And so I was a little concerned about the way this resolution was phrased, just because right now it sounds like the Autism Supportive Committee just approves its own invoices with no one in Village Hall, like, doing the task, not the task orders, but you know, that half piece of paper, the PO, thank you.
Yeah, no, they would definitely have to go through the whole board.
Right,
And I take that responsibility, which I've explained to you all, that
right,
I
you would be the
write,
liaison
I
to
am the
that.
liaison to that committee.
Okay,
I write the purchase orders as approved by the committee and then submit them.
right.
So the answer is, Eleanor, yes, if the tree commission needs additional stakes and equipment, then, and it's below the thresholds, you know, the acquisition thresholds, then usually we have a couple suppliers that we contact, say Augustine Nursery, say it's $600. So I'll get a PO for $600, and I will sign off that, yes, indeed, this is a legitimate use of the
That's
funds.
kind of what I.
And then, and that's where it goes. I mean, we had one of our volunteers went to a conference, so he submitted his expenses, because we do pay our volunteers back for attending conference, so I had to sign a PO for that as well.
Yeah, as long as Gary's following that same pattern, I think.
Well, I do.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I was just a little confused by the phrasing of the resolution itself, because it sounded sort of like the committee was just doing things over here, and our job was only to just sign the invoice once it actually got to the voucher stage.
No, not true. So I'm glad I was able to explain that to all of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I still am a little bit confused about what committees could, other committees now, suddenly other groups in the village be running their, projects through the village.
So we have lots of committees now. We have the Village of Rhinebeck Climate Smart Committee, right? Which also submits budget, but also has expenses that Vanessa maintains. We have the Tree Commission, which Rick.
But those are
maintains.
taxpayer dollars that
And they're using
spent.
taxpayer
We're not
dollars.
like bringing in money from out, that's not really our money.
We have the fire department, right, who brings in lots of donation money and uses that as well, right? So this committee was set up to not be funded by taxpayer dollars, to be funded by grants and or donations, and that's how they survive, which is pretty admirable.
No, I think,
That they've
I'm
been
just
able to
wondering
be
if
able
at
to do
some
that.
point should they, I'm just.
Yeah, should they stop being a
Maybe.
village,
at some point.
a committee housed
That's
in the village?
that's what I'm looking
Yeah.
at, rather than making,
And those discussions have been had, but we're not mature enough to be able to do that yet, but we're working towards that, and maybe someday that would happen. Yeah, just like the Holiday Tree Committee was a holiday committee. It separated itself and became a 501c3. And now they do their own thing. Or before, we were funding them to help them do their thing. Maybe. But that's up to that committee to evolve and become.
I'm okay with this, but as always with escrow accounts, I'm just going to say the thing that I always say, which is we need to make sure that we stay on top of escrow accounts so that we don't start trying to refill them once they've hit zero. We need to refill them once they've hit, the threshold actually required by the policy that created the escrow account. So, I think we just need to make sure that we're staying on top of our dotting of i's and crossing of t's when it comes to the escrow accounts, because this is great if, the committee is fully supported by grant dollars that are being put into an escrow account, but what happens when that escrow account reaches $2,000 and we get a bill for $2,500? So, we collectively, I think we really need to be making an effort to stay on top of these escrow accounts.
Of all.
All of them, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this committee does monitor that because they have to report to Tom Sumner.
Right. In some respects, actually, you guys do a better job. Okay.
Okay,
Moving on.
Yes, not prologue.
do I have a second?
I second.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Rick, I'm gonna go to you, Crystal Lake.
Okay, zip over to the right tab here. So at the last meeting, we discussed a plan for ADA improvements at Crystal Lake, working with Tyne Bond. We put together a plan and a set of bid documents. On August 9th, we opened 7 bid documents here at Village Hall, and they ranged from a low of $66,900 to $165,131.40. So we had Tyne Bond take a look to evaluate the bids, the contractors, to make sure they were compliant. Tyne Bond did come up with a recommendation. Do you want to speak to that at all, Brandy, or you don't have to?
Up to you.
Okay. So basically, Tyne Bond did their evaluation process, which is part of the task order, and they came to recommend the low bidder, Van Etten Contracting, for $66,900. They did review the proposal with Van Etten, and Tyne Bond believes that this is a good, legitimate proposal, and it fits all of the requirements. So I would like to make a motion to the board to accept the proposal from Van Etten Contracting for $66,900.
And issue a notice of award.
Oh, and issue notice of award, certainly.
And issue notice of award.
And I would like to ask, how are we gonna fund it?
Second.
Need a second. Now we'll go to discussion.
We have
So, we have a plan.
We have parks. Let me get to the right. You can start talking.
So the concept was that we would draw money from the parks project, the sidewalk project, and our capital funds accounts to be able to pull together. This is higher than what we had originally had anticipated. We were anticipating bids in around the $55,000, so we're at $10,000 more. But we were going to use capital fund project money, not budget money, to be able to fund this project and get it going. Okay.
Any particular reason why we can't use fund balance for this?
Because we have these funds set aside, and we should. I would not want to, I think this is an appropriate use of those lines. And as we talked about it during budget season.
Yep.
Because this is,
Right, we use
sidewalk
fund balance
stuff.
to refill the capital lines, and so this is the point of a capital line, so therefore.
And it's to track this.
182 of the fund balance for Center Street too.
Right, so yeah, I think this is, I don't want to pull this from fund balance. I want to take this from the lines that we designated.
Okay, I think if
How much do each of those lines have then?
you want to work out the details that way at the next board meeting.
Yeah, we have to do
Okay,
budget
we'll do
amendments.
I can present
the
the
budget.
transfers,
Okay.
however you see fit.
That'd be great.
Okay.
How the distribution comes out of each of the funds.
It would also be great to have like a sort of a final report on Center Street.
Okay.
I would also be interested just what the fees, the engineering fees, so we have the total cost of that project.
Well, remember, we had a task order for this, so we
Right, so it would be like the 66,900.
No, I get that, I'm just
Right.
saying so the public knows what, the money that went into fixing the park, that's all I'm saying.
Which is what we did, we approved the task order.
I understand that, I know we approved it, I'm not saying we didn't, I'm just saying to give them the number, that's all.
Having it all in one spot's useful.
Okay. The project number.
Yes, the total project cost.
Okay. Want to make a motion to approve pending the
I did
final?
make a
We
motion.
did.
We need to vote.
But I think you need to amend it, given the amendment to say that we're going to provide detail of the capital funds or pending.
You can just add it to it.
So, yeah, so amended.
Did you get any of that?
No.
So the motion is to approve the bid from Van Etten Contracting for
Yes,
$66,900. And
With a
the
second
board
person.
will appropriate the funds at its next meeting from various.
From the 3 different
From
capital
3
accounts.
different capital accounts that we
Okay,
have.
so I do need that.
Which
Yes.
3 capital accounts?
Parks,
Parks,
Sidewalks.
sidewalks, and
Streets. Okay. I will second that amendment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Exciting.
Vanessa,
Okay.
let's talk about a working group.
Yeah, so the next step in our community choice aggregation, otherwise known as CCA, is to put together a working group. We did receive a few applications from interested community members, 2 of whom live in the village, and we decided best to have folks in the village. So I'd like to name Mimi Jo Carnella and Kathleen Wallace to our CCA working group.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So done.
Great, thanks.
Mimi was helpful in the comp plan stuff. Great.
Yeah.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to cancel our August 27th village board meeting.
Wait, do we have the CCA request for proposals?
We're skipping ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cross that off too soon, yes.
So.
Now we'll back up.
Okay, so Rick and I have been working on this request for proposals. This is for a program administrator for the CCA. This is really based on a template from NYSERDA. And we filled it all out, customized it to the village. And there's still some blanks in there where we need to decide the date we're putting it out and then how long it will be posted. But otherwise, the details are filled out. So would it be possible to make a motion that we can publish the RFP once we finalize those dates and details with Martina?
Is it a
No,
paid
I need
position?
that in this motion. You need that in the motion.
Is it a paid position?
No, this is to put out an RFP. No, the consultant is paid for out of the funds that come in from the utility.
Yeah, the village is not taking.
Village is not, yeah,
Okay.
we do not see a cost.
Do you want to just select the date now?
Yeah, so typically what we do in the motion, we say, here's the date.
I was
and
trying to
here's-
save us the
and
time
here-
of going through dates, but
And
let's
here-
do it.
We say, here's the date, and here's how long we're gonna keep it open,
Okay.
and when bids will be opened, you need that detail.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I
I mean,
mean,
I think we should maybe put it out
Probably
in September.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's look at the calendar.
well, I got a question, I mean, the CCA working group has to pine into all of this as well, right? And you just formed a CCA working group,
Yeah.
and they haven't been able to
Yeah, we'll share the.
contribute
share it with
into
them.
the proposal as what we had
So-
originally talked about.
So really, I think the working group is meant to do the evaluation. The language from NYSERDA
I
is
get it,
pretty.
the original
is-
request was for CCA to also participate in that development, I thought.
I mean, do they really, I mean, is this, other than the dates, are there any decisions that need to be made by anyone as part of this? Okay, great. Then why don't we just issue the RFP on September 3rd and
Well,
ask for a
there's-
decision back by October 15th or something? Is there more to it than that?
You know what, let's fill it out and do it, because there's the pre-proposal conference, proposal conference, submissions, final decision, and we're not gonna be doing any of this in the end of
Alright.
August anyways.
So let's bring it back in September.
We'll bring it back in
Is
September.
CCA 3.0 ready?
They still don't have the approval from the
So wouldn't it be wise to,
PSC. Just slow play.
yeah,
You
Alright,
said
so
it.
we'll come back in.
so we're gonna
Table this for the moment?
Table it
Punt for now,
till the
right?
next meeting.
Okay.
Till September 10th.
okay.
Still September.
Now we're gonna cancel the meeting.
Now, summer's a busy time for everybody. I'd like to make a motion to cancel the August 27th, Thursday, is it Thursday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon meeting. I have a second.
Second. I won't even be here.
We don't have anything that's like piling up that we need to address that day, do we?
Not on my table right now.
Okay.
The only thing for the next meeting is the
Yeah.
CCARP.
Right. Which we'll do.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. All right,
And we will be meeting again on September 3rd and on September 12th, in
Yeah.
addition to our regular board meeting on September 10th.
Those are specific to public.
I
hearings.
know, but we're getting together as a group.
if it's something emergency, we can try to put it in.
Yeah.
All right. We got a request from Eleanor to attend the NICOM fall training, correct?
Have fun.
I'd like to make a motion for Eleanor, who will not be staying there and will be commuting back and forth. Balance-wise, it works out about the same in terms of cost, just so you know, in terms of travel time versus staying there to attend NICOM fall training.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Just went to the bathroom.
Okay, fire department trims, tires and rims. I don't believe we have anything.
We didn't receive any bids, so would you like to repost it?
Why don't we repost it in September?
Okay.
Just because it doesn't seem like anybody's paying attention to their email at this point. Although I am amazed with the number of people who showed up tonight, so thank you.
Maybe there's just fire tires aren't
I
hot
mean,
in
nobody
everybody's
wants
mind.
enormous tires.
They are a specialty.
I think there's been people that have reached out to Chief Knapp, but they didn't actually submit a.
Oh, well then why don't we just reopen it now and he can poke them and say, if you want these tires, get these tires.
Just keep it open. Yeah.
Can we just keep it
Why don't
open?
we reopen it, because it closed on Friday. Just keep it
Yeah.
open.
So I make a motion to reopen it tomorrow morning and to have bids back in time for our September 10th meeting. So have bids returned to us on September 6th, close of business. No. Yeah, September 6th. Friday, September 6th. That's a day.
No, I know.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. I think this got loaded up to the cloud. I would like to make a motion to allow Justin Noyes, our current CEO, to attend on October 7th, 8th, and 9th in Albany, New York, a seminar for building officials conference. The cost is $450. Estimated cost of hotel is $389.88 and mileage $188 round trip. This is mandatory training for this person to be able to attend.
What are the dates? What's under resolutions?
October 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And
It wasn't on the
I also
agenda.
don't care.
Yeah, it just came to my desk today.
Okay.
I need that one, you buy that one.
Yeah, oh, you don't have it? Okay. It's just late news, but he needs to get into the conference and get registered quickly, so. Motion
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All in
Send our
favor-
people to training.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
That's it,
Yes,
definitely.
abstain from the last three. Can you hold on 1 second? You were here for the board meeting cancellation, right?
He was.
Okay.
And then he missed,
Everything.
he missed
Nikon.
NICOM and fire.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Rick, how about, let's bring some good news that's already out there.
Sure, yes. So the good news is that at the end of last month, we received word from the State Department of Transportation that we did indeed receive our transportation alternative grant for $1.6 million, a total project cost of $2 million. The village will be supplying the other $400,000. And this project is basically to help or to create a sidewalk network that will go from Chancellor Livingston School up Parsonage Street all the way to South Street, and will enable us to have a continuous sidewalk system that will allow kids to walk to school, walk back and forth to school, and also residents to be able to walk in and out of the village. We had a lot of help along the way. This project is going to take a while. I was very excited. We got the award, and the first thing
And
that
we'll have sidewalks in 2030.
that's right. Well, the first thing our consultant said to us was, "You'll be hearing from the from your local Region 8 Department of Transportation
sometime in the late fall. So I've already reached out to them, but right now the timetable is New York State Department of Transportation has to get their stuff together. They're going to come to us with some paperwork, and then we will be bringing in our engineering consultant around the first of the year to actually start doing some of the design work that we're looking to do.
So I just have a question.
Sure.
Is the engineering included in this 1.6 million?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they're
They're included in the 2 million.
Within the 2
In the 2
million.
million.
In 2 million,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Remember, the way this was structured was that the engineering firm did the bid on spec and would only be paid upon the award if we were awarded. And so they built their fees into the
$2
cost,
million.
the cost of the
Okay.
project.
They start to get going fast, and then I get engineering bills, and I don't know what.
Right.
I think the concern that we all discussed is
Cash flow.
Are we gonna be getting the engineering bills before we get the grant?
Is this a reimbursable grant?
Yes, we will have to
I
submit.
guess it doesn't have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
we'll
go.
have to submit.
cash flow.
All right.
Cash flow.
Cash
Cash
flow.
flow.
And roughly, is that a percent that they're getting, or is that a set fee?
It's a fee based upon the time and how it's set up, and I think it's a percent.
Okay, so
And
do
this
you
is-
have roughly an idea?
It's not in front of me, I don't know, but I mean, it's part of the,
It's all
it's part of the
actually
bid
really
document.
highly regulated. There are only a certain list of engineering firms that are eligible to
No, I was
work
just
with us.
curious,
Yeah.
because I know at some point, I knew the fee was built in there, but somebody asked me what the fee was, and I couldn't tell them.
It's if you look at the bid document,
Yeah,
It's in there.
it's in there.
I mean, I'd like to take a pause. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, guys.
I'd like to
You
thank,
did a great job.
Vanessa, and there were several folks in the community also who really did.
Yeah.
Who pitched in, which was really very nice.
And
I got a
just for
text message
duration,
from a friend of mine who heard about this on NPR. The Village of Rhinebeck is in receipt of National Public Radio, so bravo.
So just for everybody's clarification, the goal, they plan to start January of 2025 with proposed
Engineering.
completion by December of 2027. That's what's in the project plan. So it is a two-year
plan
project. Okay. Vanessa.
All right, speaking of more money, we have earned a total of $60,000 in Clean Energy Communities grants. And as we've been discussing over the past few board meetings, the idea is to take that money and use it to replace HVAC equipment at the police department building, such that that building would then be fossil fuel free, except for the generator. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and made that proposal to NYSERDA to see if they would approve that plan for using those grant funds. And I've got the thumbs up.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, so the next step is to basically work with NYSERDA to have a contract with them. Grant for the $50,000, this would be a reimbursable grant. The $10,000 we'll just get as a check.
Is that one already done?
And you already got it.
That's
Fantastic.
Okay. I'd like to set up a separate bank account to run this in and out of.
Great. Yeah, so what I'll probably do is I work with NYSERDA is be bringing an RFP to the board for approval, hopefully by next meeting. And the RFP will basically go out and put a call out to companies that do this kind of HVAC work.
Question.
Yeah.
I know that because of whatever reason, the police department is constantly paying a higher rate on its electricity. So I know that we want to convert away from fossil fuel based HVAC equipment, or really fossil fuel based anything. But given that the police department is already constantly in this sort of surge pricing for its electricity, this seems like it's going to be a financial crunch for us.
So let me address that.
Okay.
Because part of the proposal that we worked on
Yeah.
was to now separate services. So
Oh,
the
great.
car charging stations are on their own meter, police station is on their meter. And
electrical.
that way, there's no confusion about who's using what.
Who's
or
using
what.
it?
So
Okay.
that's gonna be in the
That's part of the
RFP
$50,000.
to separate and put
Great,
two services to support that.
great, fantastic,
We're in advance, we're thinking ahead of you.
perfect.
All right, great, so I will be back, and hopefully with an RFP next time.
Thanks, Jasmine.
It does convert them from gas to electric though.
No, it's great, but,
And we save the gas.
you know, like, we still have to pay for the electricity, so.
We save the gas.
Talking about EPA?
Yeah, okay, so after following this happy news, we unfortunately did not get the EPA grant that we applied for as part of a group of municipalities working with the Hudson Valley Regional Council. We jointly put in for grant monies for redoing building HVAC systems, again, to get buildings off of fossil fuels. So we applied for this building. And it was such a sweet deal because there was no match requirement. But unfortunately, we did not get it. So I'm bummed, but we'll continue to look for other funds to do this project eventually.
That was the whole consortium of folks.
Yeah.
So, like,
that's
nobody
the
got it?
bundle. That's
The
the
whole
bundle.
The bundle of us did not get it. However, through that same kind of cohort, there was another project, another bundle of municipalities working with the Hudson Valley Regional Council. And the town of Rhinebeck was part of the other bundle.
And they got it?
Their grant was about their capped landfill in the town of Rhinebeck, trying to address all of the methane that is still escaping from that capped landfill, and to perhaps do solar on that capped landfill. And they got the grant. I think they were one of only like 25 in the country or something. It was crazy. So congrats to them.
Yep. Okay, we're gonna move on.
Oh, one more thing. Can I add one more thing? Sorry. I'm sorry. I got a call today from Laura Houston, who is Bard's sustainability manager, and she heard about a grant that's due on Thursday. That's a planning grant, $100,000, no match required, for transportation alternative strategies for the area. So I wanted to ask the board if I could, if she needs it, submit a letter of recommendation saying like that this is a great grant.
So Bard is gonna do apply for, on
Yes.
behalf of Bard to.
Bard is
establish-
asking us, town of Rhinebeck, village and town of Red Hook, probably Tivoli as well.
This is for a BART project.
This is for consultants to do like a strategic plan for transportation alternatives for our whole kind of area. So
Oh,
like
that's
network of bike paths, e-bike sharing program, shuttle, like,
Yes,
It's just
take
like
all
one
of
of
the
the things.
intergovernmental, intermunicipal stuff from the comp plan, and just
Exactly.
like dump it in it.
so that's what I want to pass to her.
Yeah,
And just say, hey, Village of Rhinebeck thinks this would be a great thing to happen.
great, yeah.
And we
But I
don't
wanna
have to
make sure
pay.
the Village of Rhinebeck is included into that as part
Yeah.
of the design.
Right,
We will be,
yeah. If you guys say yes.
Yes.
Yes?
yes.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, that's no brainer. Okay,
Who seconded?
Me,
Thank you.
I'll just take responsibility for that.
Sure.
all right, next is our sidewalk sale. Our executive director for the chamber is here, Nancy Sheehan. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for sitting through this marathon.
All great.
Yeah, so the chamber would like to submit a event application for a sidewalk sale to be held on Friday, what are the dates here? Friday, August 16th, Saturday the 17th, and Sunday the 18th, from 9 a.m., 10 a.m. start time to 7 p.m. each day on East and West Market Streets and Montgomery and Mill Streets. This is something we do, they do.
Second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the sidewalk event application for the chamber.
Second, I have a question. I don't know who seconded, whether it was Rick or Eleanor.
It was Rick.
Okay. I have a question on the application. It says all tables and racks to be placed 4 feet from the front of the stores and may not block the curb. I would like to propose an amendment to that. Is all tables and racks can be placed wherever they want in terms of like the front door of the store, but they do need to be against the building. And I think this needs to make sure that says that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it cannot come out from the building by more than 3 feet. Or whatever.
We have to maintain an ADA walkable path of 4 feet.
Right, I mean, like we have in our code, we have in our code that retailers are allowed to use the space in front of their buildings. And it's a very sort of strict set of requirements of what size table and how far it's allowed to stick out from the building and all the rest of it. Can't be on the curb side of the street, da-da-da. You know, we're constantly enforcing on that particular question. But, so I just want to make sure that the retailers are displaying their wares on tables that comply with that part of our code. Because otherwise they end up blocking the sidewalks, and our sidewalks are too narrow to be blocked.
And if I can get that specifically in email, I'm happy
I
to
am
send that.
happy to find that for you and send it to you.
Send that along to the retailers that are participating.
Yes, happy to do that.
We're not doing anything different than we have done in the past.
Yeah, this won't be unfamiliar to them. I just want to make sure that they really get it, because that's not how you've described it in the event application, so.
I apologize.
No, no worries, I get it, I
There
get
are
it.
some new retailers too.
There's also some new retailers.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next. Martina, DOT public hearing. You have that, right?
It's up on the cloud.
It is?
I feel like it's-
I have village hall use, sidewalk use, holiday, and fair parking. I don't see it on cloud.
Oh, I am sorry, that should be on there. Give me 1 second.
What, the DOT public hearing, village hall use?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is,
Isn't it?
Well, she's looking for it. This is, DOT has contacted us to request a public hearing for the replacement of the Landsman's Kill Bridge on Montgomery Route 9, which is due to start next fall
next fall.
and will be an 18-month project.
Yeah, it's in the cloud. It's in
Where?
the file that says village hall use. It's one of the 2 applications of the village hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can, they've been pushing this date back for 3 different times now. So in theory, they will be presenting some preliminary plans for the bridge. We've already been in some discussions with them about the kind of architecture we'd like to see, trying to create at least something that's reminiscent of the old Astor Bridge that was there with some lighting, some kind of signage and plaques that will make reference to the bridge. I have not yet seen their proposal. I don't know if they've completed their proposal. So we will, well, I think we'll get a chance to see it on the 18th.
Oh, but I would like to commend Trustee Lewitt for really, for over a year, taking this task on and working with DOT to get them to agree to a simulated, as close as possible, Astor replacement bridge, which the last proposal we saw met that requirement.
Yes. They gave us a very preliminary
Can
drawing.
I ask one question if
Sure.
possible? Which way are they gonna detour the traffic?
This is what they told me, and DOT changes at times. My understanding was that they were gonna do 1 lane at a time and set up the traffic light.
Okay.
So that, the
Yeah, because I could just see him move.
I know, we certainly had discussions about not.
South Parsons, yeah.
We had discussions about that is not an acceptable.
No, because the bridge won't handle the truck weight.
Couldn't handle
Okay,
it.
thank you.
So
Sorry
that's-
for
yeah, No, but that was,
interrupting.
we definitely talked about that.
Right.
All right, so the date is Wednesday, September 18th, and it'll be here at Village Hall at 5:30 to 8:30. Public meeting for the proposed replacement of the bridge carrying Route 9 over the Landsman Kill.
And this is run by DOT, it's DOT's meeting.
And do you want us to put out a call to community members to come out to that meeting? Like, what kind of feedback are they looking for?
That's up to the DOT. This is just them requesting.
Yeah, this is really just a space use there, it's their meeting.
It's part of their process, they need to hold this
Yeah,
meeting before they.
just wondering if there's anything you wanted voiced from the meeting.
Keep going.
Okay.
DOT will do their own,
Yeah.
after they listen to everybody,
They have to
then they
I mean,
do it.
should we put out a notification from Martina, on the village listserv of like, do you have thoughts on this?
I'd reach out to DOT and see what their is, and if we can copy what they have. I don't want to invent something different.
If they have an announcement, I'm happy to reshare it. We should not be posting it.
I don't want to say anything different than what they're
Right.
saying.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And God knows it's David.
So we'll reach out to DOT. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
I need a second.
Second?
And who actually motioned it?
I thought we did. I made the motion, I thought I heard a second. Was there a second?
Lydia's the second.
Rick seconded it.
There you go. No, I got Lydia because she actually said it. So-
Okay, great.
Holiday tree lighting. Gonna be that time of year. The organization called Rhinebeck Hometown Holiday Tree Lighting, Inc. Would like to have the Rhinebeck Hometown Holiday Tree Lighting, which is before food trucks, vendor tables, carolers, parade with fire trucks, and Santa arriving at 5:30. The event time is 6 p.m. to be held in the Rhinebeck Village Municipal Parking Lot. They estimate between 100 to 200 people, which is great because it seems to be growing over time. And the date is, was it December 7th?
11:30.
11:30, that's right.
So just for the campus tree?
There will be some commitment by us, the village, to participate in this in terms of putting up garbage cans. These are some of the stuff that we normally have done. They're asking for the support that we have given them in the past to be able to do that. And there will be a sensory safe space here on the second floor of Village Hall, which has been used in the past 2 years, I will say by many people, and be able to participate as they can with this event. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Just a question.
Oh, sorry.
Do we have a tree? I mean, they're going to have a tree lighting.
Yeah, we'll have a tree, one way or the other, we'll have a tree. The next one is parking application for 2024 fair parking. This is from Harry Hill. There's a map out there. The map that is proposed shows an entrance off of Mulberry into the parking lot, as they normally have, and an exit out onto Route 9. We reached out to the DOT, and the DOT said, not unless you have approval from the DOT, you cannot exit onto Route 9. So we notified Huck to say that we cannot accept that application. He asked that we amend the map and cross off the arrows exiting onto Route 9 out of the driveway. So with that amendment today to that description, I make a motion we approve the proposed parking lot for the Dutchess County Fair by Harry Hill on his property. Enter and exit off of Mulberry.
Second.
Discussion.
Has he done in the past?
Forever.
Always Mulberry?
Forever.
This was new?
Forever.
The Route 9 was new though?
The Route 9 was new.
Yeah.
Well, no, he tried that a couple years ago, we said no as well. But he did use the driveway a couple years ago, wanted to create another entrance out of the field. This time he moved it to the driveway. It's not us saying no, it's DOT.
No, I've been in this.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and Martina, I don't have the last one. Do you?
It's-
Democratic Committee,
it's-
Village Hall?
It's on the cloud.
Where is that one? Village
In
Hall
the,
use?
in the same
I found it already.
area.
So Rhinebeck Democratic Committee organization would like to request to use Village Hall on September 7th from 12:30 to 5 for volunteer campus training.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Martina, just, you
Let's go for
verified,
the board.
you verified that the building is available, right?
Which date, sorry?
September 7th.
September 7th.
It's a Saturday.
Yes, yes. we
Okay.
have that.
All right, just to make sure. Okay. I'd like to move on to the tree commission.
Minutes approval.
I don't, fell off my page, I didn't see any minutes for approval.
No, they're on number 9. It was emailed to you guys last Wednesday.
I saw the email, but I didn't see it on the agenda.
It was number 9.
I know, I just said, it fell off the bottom of the page, there's no minutes included on the bottom of the page.
That's all right.
Let me go back.
Minutes for,
Even on the agenda online, it doesn't give the minutes, what the minutes are.
it's the minutes
I
for
just printed it, so I'm not sure what you were looking
Tuesday, July 9th. It's the minutes for Tuesday, July 9th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the date.
I was looking for the date, Martina.
It's the only minutes you need to approve.
Okay, make a motion to approve minutes for our last weekly board meeting on Tuesday, July 9th.
Second.
Discussion.
I sent you comments that sort of made sense.
Already done.
Great.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Tree commission.
Okay, the first thing I want to start with is a thank you to Pat Evans, who has volunteered for the last 3 years on the tree commission and has been the person who really led our ability to use the tree keeper application that we have, which is also open to the public, which helps the tree commission keep an inventory of trees, see which trees are hazardous, which trees have been removed, what potential planting sites are. So I'd like to say thank you to Pat for 3 years. He has agreed that he will stay on. He's going to continue to help with the semi-annual plantings and help train a new tree commission member to take over his role as chief tree keeper guru. And actually,
He recently joined the board of Rhinebeck at home.
Ah, there you go. And actually with that then, I would also like to say that we'd like to advertise for a new tree commissioner.
Second?
Thank you.
Whoa. When are you posting this?
I was about to say, right. Well, we can post it as of now. And let's make it, because it's August, can we make it for the later September meeting, not the first September meeting?
So applications due by Friday, September 20th, so we can talk about it on Tuesday, September 24th?
That sounds good.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a second.
Second.
And to apply.
Thank you much.
Just like a letter.
A letter of interest.
Do we have a letter of resignation?
I need that first.
I do not have a letter of resignation.
That would be good to have.
Okay. Well, his term is expired.
No, not for, oh, you mean to replace Pat?
Replace Pat, yeah. Yeah, his term is
So
expired.
it would be nice an email, just to say,
I mean, if his term expired. And
we don't have terms.
You don't have terms.
Yes, we
for tree
do.
commission.
Where, you show me where they're,
We'll show you where it says.
show me terms.
Okay.
All right, I didn't see terms.
Well, you don't have terms because you don't get sworn in. It's
Yeah.
a committee.
You guys make
Is that
up
the
stuff
difference
all-
between a committee and a board?
One of them.
Huh.
But no one has sworn in with me, so if you want to establish your own, I feel like serving until this date, that's fine.
Okay. We have terms.
He was told it was a 3-year term when he started.
Yes.
If that helps you.
Yes.
Maybe told that, let's verify.
Thereafter,
Resignation is a resignation.
an expression of membership, each subsequent appointment shall be for the term of 3 years.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, then we should get a letter of resignation.
No,
Well,
because it's not being
his term's
reappointed.
expired.
His term's expired.
His term's expired.
All right,
You can always apply if you want to.
That's right.
all right.
After, yeah.
Do we
Okay.
have a vote to approve it? Does this term expire?
No, but you have to vote to approve the putting out a proposal to, a request for new volunteers.
You made a motion,
Yes.
seconded,
Yep, all in favor?
say aye.
Aye.
Okay, there was an additional action item from the tree commission. There was a request from 6358 Mill Street. There was a pine tree that lost a large branch. There was a request to remove that tree. That removal was approved by the tree commission. I would make a motion that the village board accepts the tree commission's recommendation to remove the large median at 6358 Mill Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then I just want to say that the tree commission's been very busy. We have volunteers who've been going out to the relief conferences to learn. We've really been expanding our knowledge base, and that's all been quite exciting. So the commission remains working hard.
Can you make a comment about this?
Sure. Right now, the tree commission has been working with a volunteer committee the tree commission is working with a volunteer committee that would like to put up a new evergreen tree in the Doughboy Memorial area. We're also working with the garden club, who's responsible for maintaining the flowers and some of the landscaping. Right now, the tree commission has been tasked with coming up with a landscape plan, which we will all have a chance to look at what to do, because there are issues with the yews that are there and the cherry and the crab apples that are not doing well. So right now, we're waiting for a landscape plan from the tree commission as negotiated with those other entities, which we will then get a chance to take a look at and discuss.
What is the role of the village board when it comes to landscape design in our parks? Like, do we have ultimate approval over what our parks look like?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And in this
That's
case,
reassuring.
and in this case, actually, you would also be accepting a gift of the tree
From this
from this. Correct.
from Brian's organization?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay. But right now, nothing is happening, nobody's cutting, nobody's doing anything?
Nobody's cutting a yew, nobody's
Okay,
lifting a shovel, nobody's digging a hole, nobody's,
great,
not until there's a plan.
There is
that
some,
we've approved.
since you brought it up, there is some level of need to be able to get this done in September, because if there's plantings that need to be done, they need to be done in September.
Evergreens are only planted in the fall.
Yeah, no, I get that, but, you know, we need a plan.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been put in front of the public as well. Right, okay. Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, yep.
Climate smart.
Okay, our community-wide climate action planning process is underway. We hosted a kickoff meeting with stakeholders from the community, including Nancy from Chamber of Commerce, a representative from the school district, from the hospital, from a whole host of organizations here in the village. And we basically shared all the climate planning work that is already going on, which was really exciting. The next step is I'll be hosting a meeting for the public to attend on September 22nd at Star Library, where we will share some of those things that we learned from those community partners. And we really want to hear from the community. What are your ideas for not just how to reduce emissions in the village, but how can we get everyone on board with this and kind of align around some goals and get people excited? So I encourage folks to RSVP for that. The link to RSVP is on climatesmartrhinebeck.org. Again, it's September 22nd at Star Library. I've also uploaded to the cloud the energy study that we had done of the water treatment plant. And I would like for the board to give me any questions or clarifications you would like, because we can schedule a review meeting with the group that did the study for us. And the idea here is to understand, is there some low-hanging fruit that would make that building more efficient? And then maybe long-term, what should we be thinking about as we seek to remove fossil fuels from our buildings? Also on the cloud is the report from the focus group that the town and the village collaborated on, to hear from older adults about their experiences with adapting to the impacts of climate change, like flooding and increased storms, sea level rise being also a big concern. So if you're interested, check that out. And yeah, and then on the cloud also just my usual monthly report. That's it.
Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda is a resignation from one of our current employees. I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss not only this, but the performance of one of our employees.
You want to close up the anniversary and come back?
We have to, I think we'll be coming back, so I'm sorry, Matt. You're gonna have to, yeah, so we can close up.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Executive session.
You don't need me to stay, I don't think so.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to close the executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Ryan Amy as highway laborer.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to good things. Again, we also like to recognize people who have worked for us, and I'd like to recognize water treatment plant operator Matt Green, who does an exemplary job, been here 2 years. He fills in the weekends for us, for those who don't know.
That's great.
Haven't met Matt. He really fills a void that really makes us village hum, and he's constantly in here on the weekends. Thank you, Matt. We're looking forward for many years for you to be with the village of Rhinebeck. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.